Getting ready for bed at a regular time is one of the most important habits you can learn.
Who you gonna call?
Ghostbusters! Jason was my son, and today is his birthday.
Oh, Lori, scared another one away.
What's your favorite scary movie?
Sorry, Jack. Chucky's back.
We are counselors at Hackett's Quarry Summer Camp. There is a swarm of bears.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
I'm your boyfriend now, Nancy.
Glenn! No! Glenn! Somebody help me, please!
Most people are so ungrateful to be alive, but not you.
It's showtime.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode, wonderful episode of the Screen Stream. Now, we are on episode 33, and I have to say, I'm actually excited about this. I'm not gonna lie, I'm actually excited to talk about this movie. This is, of course, we're talking about The Evil Dead from 2013. To continue on with our horror summer fest that we have going on. The reason why I picked this movie is because it's a fun summer horror film because you're in a cabin in the woods and deadites are coming at you. And the other reason why I picked this one over like one of the original ones is because I recently just watched Evil Dead Rises, and I did want to talk about that movie because that movie was fun. That movie was fun and very campy, and I have, shit I want to say about that. And I felt like it also fits in with the Summer Horror Fest month, back-to-back things. So, there's also Summer Cabin in that movie. We'll get there when we get there next week when I talk about it. But, yes, we're talking about The Evil Dead from 2013, and it was actually a treat. It was a treat. And it's weird for me to say that because, I'm going to be honest, guys, when I first saw this movie back in 2013, I went to theaters to see this with a couple of friends, and I'm going to be honest, I didn't like it at first. And it was nothing personal, it was just a backwards expectations I have. Usually when I go into a horror movie, I'm expecting horror, and then I get, let down or upset because it's like a horror comedy or, something like that. But with Evil Dead, I was expecting a horror comedy because that's basically what the original Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2, especially Evil Dead 3 was. It was a horror comedy. It was especially Evil Dead 3, all the slapstick and shit. But I know the original one was also played more campy and had more horror elements than the Evil Dead 2 and 3. But, I was expecting something. And yes, I was disappointed that Bruce Campbell didn't have a bigger, cameo. I was literally disappointed about that. I was like, I know we don't want him to be the lead. That's fine. But could he at least get, a 10-minute cameo? Some random guy driving or, hunting or something. Could we just get him in the opening or something? But no. He shows up at the very, 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 very end of the movie after credits, and all he says is groovy. So yeah, I was a bit disappointed when I first went to go see this movie. But, after about 2 years, I gave it some time, I thought about it, and then I rewatched it, and I had a different perspective on it, so I had much more appreciation for what it was and what it tended to be compared to what I originally wanted it to be. So on me, it was my bad for judging this movie so harshly, and I'm glad I gave it a second chance. And you know what, this is my fourth time watching this. I know I recently watched this a couple of years ago with a friend of mine who was doing an Evil Dead marathon, and I was just like, dude, you gotta at least check out the remake. The remake's actually pretty damn good, and I'm not gonna lie. But it is directed by, and I'm going to attempt to pronounce his name, by the way. I'm going to attempt to pronounce it. If I fuck it up at any point, my bad, guys. I'm dyslexic as hell. I'm doing my best here. But some of these people I can't say, especially David's actor. Oh my god, I'm looking at his name how do I say this and not be insensitive? But the director, Freddie Alvarez, I think, or it's like Freddy. It's like Fede. And I've heard like 5 people say his name, and I yet to be able to pronounce his name, even though I've heard like 5 people say his name. But Alvarez, this was actually his directorial debut. He's also well known and well liked for Don't Breathe. I didn't really care much for the second Don't Breathe. It's mainly because you took this character, this madman from your original movie, who I was fucking terrified of throughout this entire movie, and you made him a sympathetic guy. And you wanted me to root for him the whole time like he's John Wick over here. And I just couldn't get behind that. I really couldn't. It was like watching The Boy and then watching The Boy 2. I don't know where they were going at with The Boy 2 because I like the premise. Like, in The Boy, like, digress for a second. In The Boy, when it is revealed, with spoiler alerts for if you haven't seen the movie The Boy, which I do recommend watching that movie. It's a fun movie. It's alright, but, you know, it's fun. But this whole movie, you know, it plays it off like, oh my god, he's a ghost, you know, the doll's possessed. Nah, motherfucker's just alive, living in the walls, fucking with Maggie Reed from The Walking Dead over here. But then, you know, we get that, like, epic plot twist, and I'm like, okay, you got me. That ending actually saved this movie for me, because other than that, it was kind of basic, generic, point and click, paint by numbers kind of basic horror movie. And then you get The Boy 2, and I'm like, alright, where are we gonna go with this? And it's some, like, actual possessed doll bullshit. I'm just like, no, you had your opportunity in The Boy to do that, but why are we reverting back to this? Like, I like the original concept. Why are we changing? So, you know, that's how I kind of felt about Don't Breathe 2, which is, I like the original concept. Fear the old man. Is he coming after Rocky? Is he going to go after, you know, like, I really want to know that. I want to know if he actually would go after Rocky for everything, especially after she fucked up his whole scheme he had going on in that movie. But also, this dude's well known and famous for doing a lovely little Netflix movie called Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022. I highly recommend that one for 2 reasons. One, the practical effects, man. It's clear that Alcatraz really loves his practical effects. He says it a lot, especially in this movie. He's a sucker for practical effects. He does not like CGI. He's like, CGI is cheap and easy. It's fast. I don't care for it. So he does all practical effects except, you know, a few touch-up with CGI. So I give him credit. I give him credit where it's due. This man really loves his art and loves showing off his blood and gore. So that's why I recommended Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022. And the second reason is the party bus scene. You watch that party bus scene, you will die laughing. Not only the amount of stupidity, but just the craziness that happens in that fucking bus. Like, oh my god, I was losing my shit, just rolling on the ground laughing. Just walks up to Bubba. Everybody holding their cell phones up. Yeah, man, try anything and you're canceled. Like, Bubba don't give a fuck about popularity. Bubba don't care. But yeah, I personally liked that movie. I had fun with that movie. It gave me exactly what I wanted, which was, I just want to watch Bubba kill. Like, I hate to say, when it comes to Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I'll talk about it when I eventually go through the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise at some point, probably next year. I don't know. Well, I don't know. With the game coming out, it might be fun. I'll think about it. You know, I'll let y'all know. But when it came to, you know, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, we kind of seen it all, okay? We saw the original one. We saw the black comedy. We saw the confusing family tie movie. We saw the What the Fuck with Matthew McConaughey. And if you've never seen the What the Fuck movie, watch the fourth Texas Chainsaw Massacre Next Generation. That movie's just fucking hilarious. Makes no sense either, but it's fucking hilarious. I have a soft spot for that one. I really do. Then we have, of course, the who was it? The Michael Bay production guys who did like the prequel and then the remake of it. Platinum Dunes, that's it. Platinum Dunes, when they were doing all those fucking remakes with Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street and everything. Yeah. we've seen it all. We even seen a retelling of his origin story. We even seen other shit when it came to Bubba, but we never actually got to see Bubba just have a good time with his kills. I feel like in the 2022 movie, we got to see him have good times with his kills. So I do recommend, that movie. If you have not seen it, go ahead, check it out. It's a fun ride. And you definitely tell Alcatraz really took a lot of care when it came to the practical effects and stuff. And I can't just praise that man enough for his practical effects. But yeah, besides those wonderful movies, of course we have our beautiful cast. And our cast is filled with nothing but, funny enough, people from Shameless. No, I'm not joking, guys. I looked this up. There's 3 people who played on Shameless. 2 of them played siblings. I'll get there when I get there. We got Jane Levy, who plays Mia. Of course, she was in Don't Breathe, playing Rocky. And she was in Shameless playing Mandy Malkovich. I want to say that's Ian's boyfriend's sister or something like that. I can't really. It's been a minute since I sat down and watched Shameless. I'm not gonna lie. Shiloh Ferdinand. This is what I mean by I wasn't sure how to say his last name or say his name. Shiloh, who plays David. I looked into him. I didn't really see a lot of movies I recognized him from. Apparently, he's done a lot of TV shows, though. A lot of TV shows. I'm talking about, Law and Order, Drake and Josh, Euphoria. Some crazy-ass shit. I'm surprised he wasn't in Shameless, all the TV show cameos he's done. We have Lou Taylor, who played Eric. He was in You, and he played in Shameless as, get this, Lou Malkovich. I want to say that's the dad, actually, not siblings, the dad. Jessica Lucas, who plays Olivia. She is in a shit ton of horror movies. I'm not gonna lie. I recognized her right off the bat. I was just like, that's that bitch from Cloverfield that I like. Of course, as well, she plays Tabitha from Gotham, who I absolutely love Tabitha. She was one of my favorite characters in Gotham. And get this, for y'all probably don't know about this miniseries. It kind of came and went. It was under the radar. I only know about it because I saw the actual UK version of this particular show, which is called Broadchurch. And I only watched it because it had half the cast of Doctor Who in it, and David Tennant being the star. And David Tennant is my boo when it comes to Doctor Who. So I had to watch it, and conveniently enough, shortly after Broadchurch, I think, wrapped up on its last season, we in America here remade it with David Tennant in it, by the way. David Tennant came back to replay his same character, and she's actually in it. I can't remember her character because I didn't watch Grace Point as much as I watched Broadchurch, because unfortunately, Grace Point changed some shit around in the show. And if you've never seen the show, I highly recommend at least watching Broadchurch, because it's such a tragic, gut-wrenching, and twisty fucking show. I'm not gonna lie, that show had me on edge from season 1 to 3. I'm not even joking. You're talking about a whodunit scenario to the finest. I didn't even see it coming. Basically, to sum up the plot for Broadchurch and Grace Point, a little boy is killed one night, and there's plenty of suspects. Everybody's a suspect. And we have David Tennant's character, who is recovering from a heart problem, heart conditions and everything. And he's dealing with a divorce and his kid not talking to him. So he's got his own drama going on. But yeah, the whole drama is who done it? Who killed this little boy? And the ending just will shock the hell out of you. Now, I will say, like I said, Grace Point changed it up. And I was more disappointed in that. I'm like, I can't believe they actually did it that way. Because spoiler alerts for this show, if you haven't seen it, come back in about 3 minutes. If you have seen it, I'll explain what Grace Point did. So, in the original Broadchurch, it turns out the person that killed the boy was his father. And it hit home. It hit home. It really did. It really hit home. No, not his father. His father's best friend. And the reason why we didn't see this shit coming is the first episode shows them coming back from a vacation. So we think him and his family's in the clear. And it's not revealed until I think the second to last episode or the third to last episode that he's the killer. And so it was like gut punching and everything. And unfortunately, like David Tennant's partner or whatever, it's her husband. Her husband is the killer, and she was friends with the kid's mom and everything. It was a big drama thing. But in Grace Point, they changed it to where it became the little boy's friend killed him, and the father is covering it up. I'm just like, because I'll dive a little bit more into it real quick. It gets into, of course, what you think it is. A grown man with a child. You know exactly where this is going. And in Grace Point, the little boy was just like, why does my dad want to hang out with you? You know, why does he always want to have secret time with you? So the little boy was jealous. Didn't know what was going on. And how the other little boy didn't even know what they were doing was wrong until the very end when he got killed. So yeah, it's a very, very, twisty, heart-wrenching show. Highly recommended though. But Jessica, she's in it. Wonderful actress. She was also on The Covenant, Cloverfield, Amusement, and of course, the creme de la creme. Old school comedy. She's the man. Then we also have Elizabeth Blackmore, who plays Natalie. She was in Shameless playing Gayla. Again, another Shameless actress. And of course, her prominent role that we all know her from is from Vampire Diaries. But she's alright. Yeah, I grew up watching Vampire Diaries. I never got to finish the show. I think I got to a point where, what's her name? The main actress that both Stefan and Damien were going after. I got to the season finale where there was some kind of car crash or something. She fell off a bridge and then she died, so they like bit her or something. I don't really remember. I just remember there was someone jumping in the water to save her. After that season, we kind of, I think there was a writer's strike that happened, and then I lost track of it, and then it came back like a year or so later, and at that point I just wasn't interested anymore. But yeah, fabulous, fabulous actress, and of course we gotta give a little round of applause to two actors who I couldn't really pull up any kind of filmography on, but Randall Wilson, who actually plays the abomination figure we see throughout this movie, and Rupert Diggins, who actually does the demon voices. Gotta give those two guys credit. Like, I'm not gonna lie, they did some good ass work. But yeah, fabulous casting choices. I think they all brought their A game. Hang on a second. Pandora, quit clawing the chair. Sit down. Thank you. Sorry, I'm a cat. But, yeah, fabulous choices when it comes to actors. I thought they all brought their A game. Really well done. The writing for this movie, it's a hit or miss for me. Because there's several points, that, especially like in the opening, there's several points I noticed in the writing where they set things up. And at first, you think it's like nonchalant conversation, like, why do we need to know Olivia is an RN? Why do we need to know Eric's a school teacher? Why do we need to know that he's a big city boy? It sets up the rest of the arguments and dynamic that's going to happen throughout the rest of the movie. As in, Olivia being the RN really plays out, especially with Mia trying to come down off her heroin and everything. So it plays off very well, and I like the writing choices when it comes to shit like that. It also sets up stuff like, oh, be careful of this staircase board, these could go at any moment. Kind of foreshadowing some bullshit that's going to happen later on in the movie. But then you have stupid choices that end up having in this movie. Like, I get it. And I'll harp more on to this when we get to this. But if you open up a book and it's covered in human flesh and it's got, strange writings and blood on it, and one of the messages in big bold letters says, do not read, you would think a natural person, even though they're curious, would be, found this book in the basement, a bunch of dead cats, It's wrapped up in a black bag with barbed wire and is covered with flesh. And it's saying not to read it. You know what? I don't think I'm going to read this. Put it down, walk away. No, not Eric, though. Not Eric. We wrote him stupid for half a millisecond just to figure out what's in the book. Like, I don't get that choice. Like, I understand he's curious. But why would you say this shit out loud? Couldn't you just, like, read it in your head? Just, oh, okay. Okay, that sounds bad. Yeah, that sounds bad as hell. But no, you gotta say this shit out loud. But it's like stupid choice. Like, another stupid choice. When we're in the shed trying to patch up Eric, and David looks at Natalie and it's just like, go inside, give him some sugar water. Why the fuck would you send her into that damn cabin by herself, knowing what the hell's in that cabin? I just don't. I mean, I get it. They're trying to set it up, especially for like Natalie's whole being attacked, so she can dismember herself later. I get the setup. But did you have to write it kind of cheap in a way? Like, I don't mean like cheap in a bad way. I just mean like there could have been better ways to get her in the house by herself. Hell, there could have been better ways to get her in the cabin. You know, not the cabin, into the trap door. You know, I personally feel that way. But other than that, the writing's actually pretty good. The practical effects are amazing. I love the practical effects. Like I said, Alcatraz, he is purely practical effects. Like, fun fact, everybody. Did you know they used over 70,000 gallons of blood? And 50,000 gallons were just used in the ending alone? Just straight up. He ordered a shit ton of blood and used every ounce of it. Like, good for him. Especially compared to the original one where they only used about 200 to 300 gallons of blood. And they thought they had some bad work conditions. I mean, straight up. Like, I know, was it Ted Raimi or his brother who was in the... I can never remember. I know this fact, but I can never remember if it's Ted Raimi or his brother who was in the Henrietta costume. And it had that infamous moment where Henrietta's floating above Ash's girlfriend and it's dripping like water and sweat and shit. Like, that shit's just nasty. They thought that shit was bad. No. They had to spend 70 days shooting at night covered in blood. All practical. Even the vomit thing that we see up and down the trailers where Mia's on top of Olivia and just, blah, you know, all over her. That's all practical. That's not CGI at all. Also, speaking of a lot of the blood and stuff, so, we all know this movie is supposed to be NC-17. Hell, we even see it in the unrated director's cut. It's supposed to be NC-17. They actually wanted an NC-17. They were like, no, keep it all. And eventually, I forgot who talked to them, but it was just like, no, trim it down to the hardest R you can find. So they had to cut out just a few little things. Mainly, a lot of it was like some weird, like, one-liners and stuff. Like, I looked into it when it came to the deleted scenes and altered scene, you know, the shit they ended up cutting out to make it a rated R movie. We have David makes a joke at the well where he just leans in over the well and he's just like, looks like some slugs are going to have a good time tonight. And then, of course, Olivia chastises him going, no, we have to stay in the cabin for 3 days. I kind of get why they cut that one. It really adds nothing to the moment. It's just a little joke. And it does set up the fact that, you know, we got to stay in this cabin for 3 days. Even though... numerous times in this movie they make the mention that they're not leaving the cabin, so I see why they cut that out. It's just repetitive dialogue. They added or extended the tongue cutting scene where at some point when she cuts her tongue in half, we have a elongated shot of her tongue just like flopping there out of her jaw and it's just like twiddling around. Like, it's super weird. I like it though. I like it. Hell, I don't just like it. I love it. Then we had Thanks for the Water, which is where after David saves Nat from the basement when Mia tricks her down there, Eric comes stumbling in, just grabs the water, starts chugging it because Natalie left his sugar water on the floor, to go talk to Mia for some reason. I don't even know why she decided to go talk to Mia. You know this thing's fucking with you. Why would you go investigate? But that's just me. But he grabs it, chugs the whole damn thing, throws the container down, and like in a pissed off tone is just like, thanks for the water. Like, bro, we had our own bullshit going on here, okay? Like, fuck you, man. Now this is the one scene I really wish they would not have cut out. I would have actually appreciated this movie. They added this scene in, like, fully all the way through, in the theatrical version at least. But it's the "we're gonna get you" line. Like, that line was up and down the trailer. I'm not gonna lie, y'all remember a lot of the gory bits and shit that was cut out was in the trailer. And the "we're gonna get you," it's not only a nice nod to the original line from the original Evil Dead, where, cause we're gonna get you, not another peeper, which I can never remember the name. I think it's Cheryl. I think that was her name. Cause they do it, I want to say, in Evil Dead 2, not Evil Dead 1. Again, it's been a minute since I've watched the original Evil Deads. I've mainly been playing the video game here and there. I haven't sat down and watched the movies. I should have, though. I really should. I love the Evil Dead, especially with Bruce Campbell. All his slapstick and shit. But yeah, for some reason they cut that one, and I just don't get it. I liked it. I thought it fit the scene very nicely. But no, they had to add this whole line where it's just like, "Don't you cut it off, you bitch." Which they still could have kept that line, but you could have still had the creepy factor of her singing before she said that. Her singing like, "We're gonna get you." And as she's about to grab it, that's when you're like, "Oh, no, don't you cut it off, you bitch." You could have kept that. But yeah, some strange reason they cut that, and it kind of irks me a little bit. Of course, this was a weird random line Natalie's Deadite says towards Eric when he shoots her with a nail gun. And I don't know why this line was cut, but she turns around and just goes, "Little man want to play?" Or no, "You want to play, little man?" Yeah. I don't get why they cut that. I mean, I guess it was just too harsh or something. I don't know. Like, I don't get why they cut that one. Another one is David burning you. Now this one I get why they cut, because the alternative version that we actually see in the movie, it's much more impactful, because of the fact that this is the scene where he's got Mia in the ground, he's trying to bury her alive, and the demon's talking to him, fucking with him about, "Oh, your mom hates you, she's burning in hell." The line continues saying, "You're gonna burn in hell too, David, next to your sister." And like I said, I get why they cut it, because in the actual theatrical version we watched, it's a bit more dramatic of Mia more or less begging for her life. Not the demon, but Mia, and kind of fucking with him more. So I feel like that was more impactful than just saying, "You're gonna burn in hell, motherfucker." Like, you said that 20 times. I get why they cut that one. This one, I don't know why they exactly cut it. I like this scene. I thought it was kind of fun, especially we have a nice another nod to another iconic line, and we get to see a possessed David, but it's literally "join us." David shoots the gasoline, sets the cabin ablaze, and we get to see Eric's dead-eyed body fall to the floor and just scream, "Join us, you will join us." And then you see poor David. Of course, he's been stabbed in the neck, so he's dead. And he ends up being possessed by the Deadeye as he's set on fire. I actually like that. I thought that would have been pretty fucking cool. And then we have the alternative ending. I could go about 50-50 when it comes to it. I like it because it does answer the question that I always thought of when she walked out, is how the hell is she gonna get help before she bleeds out? She's missing a hand. Do you know how many arteries are in your hand, for one? Second of all, there's no way she would have walked her happy ass to a hospital before she bled out. But the alternative ending shows you her walking down the road, an old man, finds her, puts her in her car, and he's like, "Don't worry, sweetheart, I'm gonna get you to the hospital. It's gonna be good." And then we have like this weird camera zoom to Mia's face, and we end on a jump scare of her opening up her eyes. Like I said, I give 50-50. And I like it because it does answer that question of how the hell is she gonna get some help. But I don't like it for the like weird jump scare at the end of, oh, let's look at her eye. Like, that's not scary, for one, because she's not possessed anymore. And second, it's not a very good bait for a sequel. It really isn't. And I do enjoy the whole original ending where, we watch Mia walk off into the sunrise, not sunset, the sunrise, and then we pan over the book and we see it close. Like, that was pretty nice, kind of let us know, hey, more shenanigans can happen. You never know. But, something else I wanted to talk about was the fact that the design of the book and the name of it has changed. It used to be the I've always had problems pronouncing this name since I was a kid, since I originally watched this movie. So y'all gonna laugh y'all's asses off when I'm trying to pronounce these names for these damn books. The original book was the Necronomicon. And apparently there were some copyright issues with the look-wise, the original look with the face and everything. Apparently somebody else owns that right, or that look-alike, so they couldn't use it. That's why we had this interesting redesign. Like, I'm not gonna lie, it's not a bad redesign. It's simple, and it expresses what this book is, especially with the illustrations inside of it. And also, if you look at it compared to the Evil Dead Rises Necronomicon, they look very similar. But I'm gonna admit, the one in Evil Dead Rises looks so much cooler, mainly because of the bone teeth that are locking the book in place. I love that effect, and it actually, as soon as I saw that book, I was like, that's the one that bit Ash's hand. I remember that book. But this one actually looks pretty nice, though. I like the simplicity of it. It feels like the Necronomicon. But they don't call it the Necronomicon or Necronomicon. They don't call it that. Stop laughing. I hear y'all laughing. No, they don't call it that. And this one, they call it the Netrum Demento. And they actually took that name from the original recordings of what it was originally called. So I can't get too terribly mad at the name change, but when it comes to the design of the book, that's why it looks the way it does. There were some copyright issues with the actual original book look, so they went with the safer route. Of course, there's a lot of old school lines that you can hear throughout this movie. Especially like in the cabin, you can hear the infamous "Join us." Join us, creepy voices, and you hear, of course, Cheryl's voice at some point with the whole "you're all gonna die tonight" line. Like, there's just a lot of nods, especially near the end, or not even near the end, during the credits, before the Bruce Campbell cameo. If you listen to the music or whatever, near the end, it's the actual audio tapes from the original Evil Dead, I want to say. Which I like that. It's a nice little nod. Of course, we can't go anywhere before we dive into this movie without talking about the Oldsmobile. Of course, it makes its epic cameo. Everybody who knows Evil Dead knows this cameo because Ted loves his Oldsmobile. It's a 1973 Oldsmobile. It's been like in every one of his Evil Dead movies. I think even in the TV show. Hell, it's even in the fucking video game. But yeah, no, it had to make its little guest appearance. I absolutely love that. I thought it was a nice nod. Especially with the fact that both Bruce Campbell and I want to say Ted Raimi and everybody who worked on the original Evil Dead liked this movie. They actually approved this movie. That's the whole point of Bruce's cameo at the end, was groovy. Him approving of the movie, going, hey, I like this one. I like that they did something different. Which is true, because technically, this is not a remake. This is a reimagined sequel. Because it takes place 30 years after the original one, so it is chronological and connected to the original Evil Dead. And this is coming from the director himself, who's actually confirmed this. So yeah, no, I like the tie-in. I liked a lot about this movie, and like I said, there's some things I found a little weak, which is mainly the some bits of the writing, just bits of it now, not all of it, but the lighting, the practical effects, it's all just beautiful. And I thought the acting was pretty good. Now I will admit, I feel like Elizabeth, she had no purpose in this movie. I will not lie about that. Like seriously, you think about it. She doesn't do much in this movie. She's really only there to add to the body count because it is stated in the book they need 5 sacrifices for the abomination to appear. She happens to be one of them. Like, she really doesn't do anything. Like, dead ass. Everybody else, though, I like them. I like David's dynamic, especially with the complicated history between the friends and his sister. But yeah, I felt like Natalie was very underutilized. She really didn't add too much. There's actually points in this movie I forgot she was even in it, and then she died, and I kind of forgot about it for the rest of the movie. Which is sad, because I liked her in Vampire Diaries. But also, one more thing as well before we dive straight into this movie is the Deadites. We gotta talk about the Deadites here real quick. So we all know the original Deadites, of course, are very campy, a lot of cussing, a lot of little jokes and jabs and stuff. Very goofy and, like, very flimsy as well. Let's not even talk about, remember the Cheryl, I want to say it was the Cheryl dance with the decapitated head and their bodies just dancing. You know, goofy shit like that. And this movie, they have their witty little jabs, especially when it's... The thing is that really intrigues me about this version of the Deadites is the fact that I cannot tell if it's mainly the Deadites fucking with everybody, pretending to be like Mia or Olivia or anybody who's literally been infected and then attacked. Like, case in point. Natalie comes to the house, right? To go get the sugar water. She hears Mia... Oh my god. What am I doing down here? Please, my leg's broken. Please help me. Like, what's going on? And then, you know, she opens, you know, it actually doesn't open. It's already open for her. But she walks down there, and then as she's talking, it then speaks in third person. Like it's just like, I don't know what I'm doing. And then we slowly see it start laughing, and then say, it's going to kill you. And then it attacks. So it makes me think, is it allowing the victim, per se, to have some sense of control for a measly few seconds so it can fuck with you, or is it just doing a really good imitation of this person? Because that was one thing about the Deadites that I really did enjoy in this movie, is the fact that you never tell if it's actually the Deadites just fucking with you, or they are being that kind of asshole to let that person feel the pain. Like when Natalie dies, like again, guys, y'all know me, I'm all about spoilers in this movie. It's rather obvious all 5 people fucking die, and I even said Natalie dies, but spoiler alerts, guys, Natalie dies. And spoiler alerts for the rest of this movie. But when Natalie dies, of course, you know, David shoots her in the arm, and then she comes stumbling in, and she's like, David, why are you hurting me? My face hurts. Why does my face hurt? And then she dies. You see what I mean? You see what I'm kind of going in at it, or going in for. But yeah, I like the Deadites. Don't get me wrong. The original Deadites, they were fun and campy. It was rather obvious once you got possessed, you were possessed, you were gone. There was no sense of you there, especially when, you know, Cheryl's Deadite version is fucking with Ash. Like, why are you doing this, Ash? Why are you about to cut my head off? We all know that's the Deadite. We all know. But in other cases in this movie, it's just like, is that the Deadite fucking with them, or is that really them? So it adds a bit of complexity to the Deadites, and I like that, you know? I like the uncertainty, which adds to the writing and the acting ability over here, where, you know, usually in those situations, you would question, why would you do this? Why, you know, unlike Besides the Natalie thing, I will admit, Natalie's fucking stupid because of the fact that this is about halfway through the movie and she already knows what the fuck shit's happening, okay? Olivia just got her head bashed in by Eric, who's saying, she tried to kill me, she tried to kill me. Why would you want to go down there? I would never fucking know. But I'm saying that in general, to start with, like, say this is like the beginning of the movie or something, and the bullshit happens. Now, shit like that. But yeah, thoroughly enjoyed this movie though. Again, the writing, I like about 90% of it. There was 10% of this writing I did not like. Everything else I thought was good. The lighting, the lighting, the effects, the practical effects, the acting, the way they treated the dead eyes, the way they fixed the book. They retold the story, added some extra scenes. Like, unfortunately, apparently, Alcatraz, we all know the infamous tree scene. We all know the tree scene. Apparently, the original version of the script he had did not have that tree scene in it, and somebody from behind the scenes changed it up and was just like, no, we gotta add that iconic scene. But I like the way they did it here. It didn't look, I can't really say it didn't look as painful. It looked pretty painful, I'm not gonna lie. But hell, everything in this movie feels painful. That's the beauty about the practical effects and the brutality of this movie, is it looks painful. There are several moments where I'm just like, ooh, goddamn, my back. Oh, no. Ooh, yeah, no. I wouldn't chop my, okay. No. Oh. But yeah, everything's just, it was really good. And I know I keep saying it a lot, but again, I'm more pissed about myself for doubting this movie when it first came out because of just my biasness towards the original Evil Dead. But I think this man did a good job. I like the retelling. Like I said, everything from the Deadites on down to the little nods and gestures to the original one. It's almost, like I said, it's a reimagining. It's like a little love letter to the original Evil Dead. It's so much fun. But why don't we go ahead and dive straight on into this so we can talk more about this bullshit. Okay, so the opening starts off with the teenage girl running through the woods. Actually, not even running. She's more staggering through the woods because she seems disheveled, which I don't blame her. I want to know what happened. I would love to know a prequel. If y'all could actually write a prequel to this movie, that would be grand. Like, I'm not even gonna lie. Like, I'm just curious. Like, I wouldn't be butthurt if it never happens. But I am curious, though. How did she get her hands on this book? How did, she end up killing her mom? Like, all the shenanigans. But what's great about this scene, though, is as somebody who's seen the original Evil Dead, it already sets up some expectations. As somebody who has never seen the original Evil Dead and watched this movie, it sets you up with questions. And that's the beauty about, at least, I want to say the first 15, 20 minutes of this movie. It sets up everything you need to know. And then the last half of the movie is literally violence, gore. Yeah, I can't get mad at that. I really can't, especially being an hour and a half film. Yeah, I remember it being so much longer than what it was. And yeah, no, and about an hour and a half, I want to say for like the regular theatrical cut or something like that. But yeah, we had the girls stumbling around in the woods. She's covered in blood. She's seen the shovel, disoriented. She's running from something we clearly cannot see. And, oh, excuse me, oh, there we go again. Only get one. But as she is hiding, somebody comes up behind her with a sack, throws it over her head, throws her down, calls her a bitch, and then somebody else walks out and butts her in the head with a shotgun, right? We knock her ass out. She wakes up chained to a pole by barbed wire. First of all, that sounds completely painful, okay? Second of all, I would rather have the sack on because once it's taken off, we see all the horror that's in this basement, okay? We got hanging cats. We got an old lady reading from the book, being all sketchy. And this, of course, with the book, we're not supposed to get the ooh, kind of moment, our first actual reveal of the book, because that's saved from when Eric goes and uncovers it. But we do get a glimpse of the book, which sets up, literally, this whole 5 minutes sets up what we're about to deal with. So anybody who's new to the movie knows these Deadites aren't something to fuck with. And people who've seen the original movie know the Deadites are scared because these are not the normal Deadites we're used to fucking with. But as all this shenanigans going on, also gotta add a little tidbit. There's some actors I didn't credit it, but we have a redneck, we have another redneck missing a tooth, we have a crazy woman, and of course the teenage girl's father standing there. And she's just like, Dad, why are you doing this? Like, what's going on? Please, I want to go home. Where's Mom? And Harold looks at her and it's just like, Mom's dead. And you killed her. Like, straight up, just, you murder her. You're gonna die. Which, again, if you're new to the movie and, sat down, you're watching this opening, you're very fucking confused. She's like, this looks like an innocent teenage girl. She's begging, she's pleading. She's like, Daddy, please. She's acting all innocent, like farm girl innocent, like 16-year-old farm girl innocent. And why, he's talking to her. Of course, the old woman's in the background. She's speaking gibberish. I'm not quite sure what she's speaking, but I don't understand anything she's saying, and so it sounds like gibberish to me. And I'm assuming she's saying something, we gotta do it now, we have to stop this now, set her on fire, because she has the page open to set somebody on fire. So, Dad grabs the gasoline, he's shaking the whole time, he's pouring on her, and she's like, Daddy, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? Just please stop it. And of course, I gotta get mad about this one thing. How many times do I have to tell people in horror movies, get a fucking Zippo, okay? Enough with the matches bullshit, alright? Either bring a Zippo or just have a flame torch or something. Like, this is ridiculous. The amount of times people have matches and they're trying to light this and they're like, no, that one went out. Oh, this one's not lighting. Like, bro, you're wasting valuable time and effort here. Just get a fucking Zippo, bro. But as he's struggling with the matches, of course, she's like, Daddy, I'll rip your soul out. And he stops and he finally gets it. And of course, as soon as he gets it and the flame starts, we get a good look at the fucking dad. And I will admit, it looks pretty badass. Even when my first time watching it, I was just like, oh my god. Oh my god. So, basically, to describe these motherfuckers, the only thing that really makes them unique is the fact that they have these piercing yellow, I'm talking about yellow, like ganjish yellow eyes. And I want to say they kind of look half decay in some aspects because of the fact that it's, the demon taking over a human body. I don't think it would be very sustainable because we've seen like a bunch of possession movies that after a set, like, number of days or so, people who are possessed tend to not look their best. Like, I'm not gonna lie, let's look at the Exorcism of Emily Rose. She did not look good by that end. But she says, I'll rip your soul out, Daddy. Match goes. He throws it, of course, and as soon as he throws it, she set ablaze, everything's going crazy. And she's like, I'll rip your soul out, you pathetic fuck. I will kill you like I killed your wife. And we just see, like, the flames covering. And this demon seems so fucking happy, too. Just, oh my god, like, it's just having a grand old time, not gonna lie. And then Daddy grabs a double-barrel shotgun, pulls it up to her, and says, I love you, baby, and then blows her fucking head off. Right there, title card. That's the first 5 minutes. Not gonna lie, even in my first time watching the movie, I was impressed. I truly was. I was like, that's a good-ass opening. You had me there, you had me going in the first half. And again, like I said, guys, my biasness came because of the fact that Bruce Campbell didn't make a bigger cameo in this whole movie. And the fact that I was expecting him to be a little bit more campy. Now, I will say, Evil Dead Rises hit that. But now at this point, I had done appreciate Evil Dead 2013 for what it is. Now I'm disappointed that Evil Dead Rises didn't follow suit. But I do like what they did with Evil Dead Rises, don't get me wrong. But I like this one a little bit more. I'm not gonna lie, out of the two remakes, I like this one. I really do. But yeah, I thought that was a grand opening. Everything from the camera setup, because it's very disorienting, the camera is because the camera work's just amazing in this movie. You know, every shot is just fucking phenomenal. I'm not gonna lie, like especially during certain scenes, like this scene in particular. Like I said, it makes you feel disoriented because, you know, we're seeing her struggle against this pole. We're looking at the people hanging up dead cats, and we get a glimpse of the book, and then back to her, and then looking at Dad, and then the whole, you know, match thing, and then we get to see the actual Deadeye right there. That is done so well, and it's such a good build-up, and it lets you know, like I said, it lets you know, these are Deadeyes not to be fucked with. So now after that beautiful ass opening, we have, of course, this wonderful aerial shot. I'm not gonna lie, I like the camera because it starts off like upside down, looking down, and then it like rotates around to follow the Jeep, this red Jeep. And as they're pulling up to this cabin, we actually get to hear one of the famous old lines in the whispers. By the way, I noticed this is my second time watching it. You hear, "Join us, join us." Which, again, I like that. I really do. I love the whispering effects in this movie. But, you know, once we get to the cabin, of course, we're introduced to all the characters. You know, David comes out, which is Mia's brother, who is the city slicker working in Chicago at some kind of auto shop or something like that. He's brought his girlfriend, Natalie, who is, according to Olivia, a heartbreaker. We got Olivia, who is the RN, and then, of course, we got fucking McSourpuss Eric hanging out in the back, and he's a school teacher. But yeah, we get a little, like, rundown what everybody has been doing. Like, Olivia is more warming and welcoming to David. She's like, "Oh my God, David, it's been so long. Give me a hug like you really missed me." Eric, on the other hand, he's kind of cold towards Eric. And it's not until later on in the movie you find out the reason why he's so cold. It's just the fact that he feels like David abandoned them. David left them and just tucked tail and ran. And so he's pretty mad at David for doing that. So I can kind of get the animosity between them. And I like that. I really do. Especially with the fact that Olivia is more, you know, warming and welcoming. But she states the facts that, hey, bro, whatever happens, you can't let me get to you, you know, because whatever happens, we can't leave this place. But once we get the small introduction, you know, a couple little goofy lines, it's, "Oh my God, being a school teacher has really turned you into a sourpuss," you know, hug, whatever. Eric just coldly says, "She's in the back," and walks off. We then cut to Mia drawing, and of course she's sitting on the Oldsmobile, having a grand time, and he walks up to her, and she's just like, "Holy shit, you actually came." "Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry I look like shit." "Nah, you don't look like shit. You look beautiful. You look beautiful as always. And you're still full of shit and lying." A little sibling banter. I like that. But, you know, he sits down. Of course, he brings in Grandpa, which is the dog, which I love that dog. Granted, I'm so sad the dog didn't have so many moments. But I knew walking into an Evil Dead movie, there was an animal. It was not going to make it. As soon as I saw Grandpa, I already started crying. I was just like, "Oh my God, the dog." My roommate's sitting next to me. "Why are you upset? The dog's going to die." How do you know the dog's going to die? It's a horror movie, man. It's a horror movie. Most of the time, the dog dies. I think there's been a handful of scenarios where the animal actually lives. One of those scenarios, you actually have to play right in until dawn to make sure the dog survives. Don't punch the dog. Just FYI, you see that dog, don't punch it. Just be your friend, be its friend, and save its life. Always lock the door and save its life. But, you know, after, you know, Grandpa shows up, she makes a mention about it's good to be back at the cabin. Kind of setting down the groundwork that this is their family cabin. It's been their family for years, but they haven't been up here for a while. And I like that. Again, that's part of that clever writing. That clever writing I actually do like. But he sits down next to her, and he's just like, "Oh my god, what's that?" And she's like, "What are you talking about? What's that?" And he pulls out behind her ear, and of course it's the, if you've seen the original Evil Dead, it's called the magnifying necklace, and this one is something else. It's a token to give to Mia. It's supposed to be strong. It's supposed to help her be strong and fight this. It's made out of some type of wood. I can't remember what the wood was, but he gives it to her. It's supposed to make her stronger. And as I want to say she puts it on, but she gets up, she looks at David, and she's like, "Promise me you'll stay till the end?" "Yeah, I promise. I promise." So we get to the well scene, and it's her dumping her heroin into the well. And that's something I do like about this movie, is the heroin aspect. And before you're all like, "Oh my god, it's because she does drugs." No. It actually explains why not only do people not believe her when she says later on in the movie that she's seen some shit, she saw some shit, but it also explains why they refuse to leave the cabin. Because if she's trying to withdraw, calm down, you don't want to leave, because as soon as she gets to that city, she's gonna probably go out and buy some more. But because of the fact that we as the audience know she's being haunted by a demon, we feel even more worried for her, where everybody else is kind of blowing her off. And I like that aspect, because there's been so many movies where they're in a haunted house, right? They're in a haunted house, and they know shit's hitting the fan. They can leave at any point, but they don't. Why? Because of bad writing. Why? Because of bad choices. This, on the other hand, I like it. It sets up a good tone and a good setting for the rest of the movie. And I also, again, like the fact that, because she's coming down, that's why no one believes her. Which, again, in a lot of horror movies, they tend not to believe them. Even though, like, in a lot of fucking movies, I've seen it where they witness the ghost attack, right? They see the blood. They see... Case in point, Devil and Me. Fucking, what's his name? The director of the TV show. "Oh my god, that's blood. Do you think someone's hurt?" No. Clearly the gardener brought in like a dead animal or something. Like, bro, people are missing and you're playing this so casual. It's the casualness. It's really the casualness when it comes to a lot of the movies. Oh, thank you. But yeah, it's really the casualness that really bothers me when it comes to a lot of choices in horror movies. So I like the fact that in this particular movie, because, she has a heroin problem, this is why we can't leave. I like that. But of course, as she's dumping in, she's making like a solemnly swear moment. Just, "I swear I will never touch this shit ever again," and throws it down the well. She gives a pretty decent speech, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I like it. And of course, as they make mention later on in the movie, the fact she's done this before, so it's kind of... You kind of notice why a lot of other people are kind of looking at her, like rolling their eyes, like, yeah, we've heard this before. You solemnly swear. But after she does this, it's a really nice shot where we're looking up from the well. Like, we're looking up at them from inside the well, and she's looking down, and she goes, "Okay, let's play this cold turkey." Which I can understand. When trying to kick a drug, you want to quit cold turkey. Especially on a drug like heroin, meth, crack, stuff like that. Because that's very strong, dangerous drugs. Very, very dangerous. But I do believe you need to be in the right environment if you're going to quit cold turkey. And I'm going to be honest. Cabin in the middle of the woods, nowhere near emergency hospitals where some shit happens, you can be taken there. That's not a good idea. It truly is not. But that's what they decided to do, just isolate her, which I get as friends, it makes sense. And the fact that Olivia's a registered nurse, so she can take care of this. But I still feel like, in the scenario, you still want to be kind of close enough to civilization for shit like this. But, literally, next scene, after she does this, she is freaking out. She's coming down hard. Speaking of coming down hard, we got the rain and the thunderstorms coming down hard, and she's just screaming about the smell, which she made a comment about that when they walked into to the house. Hang on a sec. I skipped the scene. My bad. Wrong scene. They go into the cabin and it's a mess. Sorry, I skipped like an entire scene. That was my bad, guys. So they get into the cabin, right? And as they're walking into the cabin, of course, this cabin is messy. It is messy from hell and back. Because, of course, this is the cabin from the cold opening. But we don't know that till we go down to the basement. But yeah, it looks like someone clearly broken in. And the first thing Mia says as she's walking in is, "Oh my god, what's that smell?" Of course, nobody else smells this shit. And again, they chop it up to you're having withdrawals. Granted, I don't think any kind of withdrawal would have you have supersonic smelling ability for dead animals in the basement. Like, I'm sorry. I would smell that. I think anybody with normal noses would smell dead animals in the basement. But again, that's just me. I guess, coming down for heroin, you have superpowers. But they go in, and she looks around. They're just like, yeah, Mom wouldn't like the way the cabin turned out. Well, let's make this livable then. David's trying to be the nice guy. Let's make this livable. Come on, guys. We could rally up for 3 days. Mia's taking a look around. Of course, she's looking at old family photos, old pictures of friends, her diary, and all this stuff. And David comes in, and he's just like, "Hey, you alright?" She's like, yeah. Just thinking about Mom. Do you remember that lullaby she used to sing back in the day? And of course, David shuts this shit down. And this adds some good ass writing right here that sets up the animosity between David and Mia. Because you can see they have a bit of a tense relationship, especially in their first meeting at the car. It's a little awkward small talk. But originally, I thought it was, awkward sibling talks because, we're here to help you kick a drug. That's not a comfy situation to be in on both sides. For the person doing the drug and the person trying to help the person stop doing the drugs, it's not a comfortable situation to be in. So, of course, it's going to be an awkward conversation, awkward small talk, especially if you're siblings and you love that sibling. You want to make sure they're happy and healthy, and doing these drugs is killing them. And unfortunately, when it comes to drugs like heroin, meth, crack, they're very, very addictive and very not only just messes up your body, it messes up your life. It just messes up your life. And as somebody who's seen shit like this, I can concur, it will fuck your life up. So originally I thought, okay, just awkward sibling talks. But this scene right here establishes that there's more animosity because you learn that their mother was sick and she was delusional and not really all right in the head. She was screaming for David. Actually mistaked Mia for David on several occasions, and she played along. But David never showed up, and Mia unfortunately had to sit there and watch her mother die, basically going crazy because she was in a mental institution, which we find out later on when David's having a moment. But yeah, it sets up the fact that David wasn't there. And of course he makes excuses, I just started the job at the chop shop and, I was doing this and that, blah, blah, blah. And Mia says something that I know stung a little bit because the way she storms off after. But he makes a mention that she shouldn't be thinking these thoughts about Mom because of the fact that she doesn't need to be thinking sad thoughts. And she just goes, Mom's not a sad thought. Mom's last few days in the hospital was not that great. And I had to sit there and watch her die. And he's just like, he listens to her, and you can see on his face that he feels guilt. He feels remorse to the fact that he wasn't there. And it's never actually explained why, of course he uses excuses. Oh, I was I was working this new job, blah, blah, blah. But I want to say in actual reality, David probably didn't want to sit there and see his mother in that state. Because as somebody who watched their grandmother go through dementia and have to suffer through the confusion, it's very heartbreaking. It's very emotional, especially when the person that you love doesn't recognize you. It's very heartbreaking. So David, of course, couldn't handle it. So I'm assuming he just never showed up because of that reason. And Mia, being the stronger one of the two, or as she feels the stronger of the two, she had to sit there and watch her mother decay. Well, after they had that conversation, she looks at him and just goes, "Maybe you were lucky. You didn't have to see her like that." And then she storms the fuck off. That had to sting just a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, that had to sting just a little bit. So, a couple of hours later, we're back with everybody, kind of hanging out. You know, Mia still hasn't had her terrible withdrawals yet. You know, everybody's pretty chill. And David's working on fixing the cabin. Which, by the way, guys, I gotta know something. This was their parents' cabin, right? Crazy lady with the book from the opening, Harold and his teen daughter, the fucking rednecks. Why did they break into this man's cabin to do this ritual? Why couldn't they do it at home? Why did they have to pick this random cabin in the wood and fuck these people's lives up? I don't know. Again, this is why I want a prequel. I have questions here, and I would like answers now. Actually, you know what? I demand that prequel. No, I'm just kidding. I don't demand the prequel, but a prequel would still be nice nonetheless. But as, you know, David's working on the cabin, Eric's playing with himself with solitary. Actually, no, I wouldn't really call it solitary. He's just like flipping the cards. Like, he's very bored flipping the cards. And Olivia walks up to him and says, "I have to tell you something. We tried this before, last summer. She lasted all of 8 hours and then stopped and went ahead and bought some more. We cannot let that happen again, David. We cannot let this happen. When she breaks, and trust me, she will, we can't leave." Basically incentivizing the fact that we really can't leave because we don't want her to OD because, well, like I just said, they don't want her to OD, and they say it right here. We got to keep her here. She won't survive another OD. And David's kind of shocked about that because he didn't know his sister OD'd. But Eric's just like, "Oh, no. She didn't just OD, man. She died. She was legally dead. They had to defibrillate her back to life." You would think somebody would have told David about this, but he looks completely shocked as ever. Just, okay, my sister fucking died. Great. Wonderful. But they tell him, though, that no matter what happens, he cannot let her leave. He looks at them and goes, "I came here to make things better with her, not worse. If she asks me to take her home, I will." Kind of leaving you on that note, just to go, is he really going to do that? Does he really care for his sister that much that in her time of need, and I don't mean the time of need to leave, I mean the time to need to come down off her drug problem, that he's going to kind of enable it in some aspect by taking her home? Because again, when someone's coming down from withdrawals, they will literally say or do anything. Like, straight up. They will tell you everything you want to hear. You know, I swear. Let's go back to The Haunting of a Hill House with Luke and Nellie. That everything Luke said to Nellie, you know, "Oh, I promise, Nellie, I'll never do this again. You know, I got to get dirty before I can get clean." Playing her. That's what withdrawal people do. So, you know, it makes you worry and wonder if he's actually going to break and take her. But we don't have to worry and wonder too much longer. Because literally the next scene, which is the scene I was really going to talk about, is that night. And like I said, the thunderstorm's coming down, the rain's coming down. Mia's having a freak out. Like I'm talking about, she is screaming. She's like, I don't even know what that fucking smell is. I can't stand that smell. And of course Olivia, you know, is trying to, "Oh, it's okay, we're here, we all got you." And David's just standing there like, this is going to be a long ass night. And then they try to help her out by, I think they give her a tranquilizer or something. I know they attempt to do this later on in the movie, but they're giving her something, I guess, to calm her down from the withdrawals, because again, being a registered nurse really pays off for this bitch. And as she's, helping Mia out, Olivia's just like, "You'll be fine, that's good." And Mia's just sitting there, pissed as fuck. I'm talking about pissed as fuck, grumpy as hell. Just, I don't know what's wrong with you people. Something's dead and it reeks. Like, straight up. She has said it smells numerous times. Again, why can nobody else smell it? I don't know, but they're blaming the withdrawal. It's just like, you're very sensitive right now. But fucking, the grandpa, he recognized that smell, so he starts, like, clawing at the rug a little bit, and they're like, well, Grandpa, what is it? You know, what's going on? They remove the rug, and we get the trap door with a blood trail leading to it. And then, of course, I have to laugh at this scene. Like, I love Mia's little little clap back towards Olivia. As they open it, of course, as soon as they open it, just the flies, the smell wafts in, everything comes in. And Mia, like, we're not even looking at the characters. The camera's just pointing down the stair to the trapdoor basement. And you just hear Mia go, what's your fucking diagnosis for that? It fucking stinks. That's it. Olivia just says, it fucking stinks. So the boys head down there to investigate, of course. And as they're going down there, there's a little nod or a little foreshadowing right here where David's walking down, he hits a very loose board, and he's just like, oh, be careful, you know, the wood's rotten. Again, you wouldn't think much of it, but the fact that the camera highly focused on the fact that he stepped on this one step, and then he had to make a mention of, hey, what's that piece of wood right there? That's rotten. Foreshadowing. Good foreshadowing. Because, again, it's one of those throwaway lines you wouldn't really think of unless you're paying attention, like, or a movie buff like me. Who actually, it's going to sound a little weird, but I actually know a lot of camera tricks and edits that help directors portray what they're trying to show on the movies. Because I watch too many damn movies. But as they're heading down there, of course, they end up finding the room with all the dead cats. Now, at this point, they're really dead. Like, they're like skeleton dead cats. They're not freshly dead. They're now like rotten dead. And, of course, you know, the smells wafting everywhere. They find the burned pole where the girl was at. And then the creme de la creme, the book. The book is on the table with the double-barrel shotgun and the shells. Now, my thing is, you walk into a trap door to a basement, and you open up a door, and you see basically what they call witchcraft. Why on earth would you want to fuck with it? Like, straight up, that's like walking into a fucking graveyard and trying to communicate with the spirits via Ouija board. Why would you do it? Why? You see, granted, this is the same, Eric is the same motherfucker who literally opened the book and read, do not read, do not say anything, do not listen, do not hear, and he went, what are these words again? Kanda, like straight up. But yeah, they see the book, and of course Eric gets the bright ass idea to take the book upstairs. And as they're upstairs, of course, Mia's chastising them, like, you shouldn't have brought that shit up there. Now, yeah, hell, and like I said, even Eric made a mention that this was some witchcraft bullshit, so why would he bring it up here? I do not know. So everyone's trying to act normal. This is the next day now. We're now to the next day. We're on day number 2. And everyone's trying to act normal, you know. We got Olivia and Natalie, you know, cutting some meat up. We got Eric just staring at the book. And because, you know, in the opening we only got glimpses of stuff, there's supposed to be this big-ass reveal about the book. So they got it covered in a black trash bag with barbed wire around it, which should add to the extra factor of you should not touch this book. If there is a book, right? Or any object, right? And a plastic black bag, not just a regular white trash bag, no, a thick ass black trash bag, and it's got barbed wire around it. Why? Why would you want to touch that? Why would you even want to open that? Like seriously, straight up. A lot of questionable things Eric does. Straight up, Eric does a lot of questionable things in this movie. But Eric, you know, he's looking at, looking at the book. We got Mia pacing in circles outside in the rain because she's having withdrawal syndrome. So she's like, oh my God, she's got the shakes and everything. And Eric's hearing whispering, open us, join us, open the book. So eventually he does. He takes the barbed wire off, takes the plastic bag, and of course we got that really nice reveal, like that overhead shot as he's opening up the book or the trash bag, and you see the nice, beautiful. I want to know though, what kind of material they use to make the flesh cover bound, because that looks really, really cool and really smooth. I'm not gonna lie, it looks really good. Granted, it does not beat the original with the face in it. But again, copyright issues fucking ruined that. I would have loved to see their take on the book with the face on it. But this one's nice. I like this one. Like I said. But as he opens up, of course we see the human flesh with the stitches. And he starts opening up the book. And of course these beautiful. Granted, they're grotesque, but I'm saying they're beautiful because they're really well done drawing-wise. He sees all these beautiful art pieces of grotesque things, and of course he sees the alphabet and a foreign language, and he's flipping through it. And as he's flipping through it, he cuts his finger, right? Just drop of blood lands on the book. That's never a good thing. Fucking. Try to stop the bleeding. And of course he then sees, do not read from this book. All out warnings, just straight warnings. And again, guys, why? Just why? I will never understand why somebody will open up a book, even if they're curious, will open up a book and say the words out loud. I'm just saying. But as he ignores all the fucking warnings of, don't say anything in this book, he then grabs a little piece of paper because he sees something etched into the book. So he starts, he puts a little piece of paper on with a pencil so he can kind of get what the words are. And as he's, doing this, of course we're cutting back to Mia pacing in the rain, doing her own thing. As he says each word, it starts a chain event. Of course, that's the first word, Kanda. We get the POV shot of the infamous POV shot of the entity going through the woods really fast with all the sound effects and everything. A staple in the movie franchise, really, when it comes to the Qatarian demon. That, we get that really nice POV shot through the woods, kind of swooping through. I like it, personally. I do. He then says the next word, Estrada. Mia's shaking outside, she's still pacing. Montes. Mia then looks up. And she thinks she sees something, but she's not quite sure. But she looks up and she's still pacing around. And then he says, Kanta. And as soon as that happens, we get a POV shot of the Qatarian demon coming at Mia. She sees a flash of what the creature is with a doppelganger version of herself, so she pukes and throws up everywhere. And as she's standing up, she's like, please, God, please just give me a day, give me a chance. Basically telling God, give her a break, man. It's just gonna be a long fucking day. Boy, she doesn't even know how long that day's gonna be. As soon as she says that, though, she looks up, she sees the doppelganger of herself standing up far from the woods, and it freaks her the fuck out. Granted, I would be freaked out too, because first of all, in doppelganger standpoints, it's never a good thing to see yourself. Apparently, there's urban legends and theories that if you see your doppelganger, one of you gonna die. And I don't want to be causing somebody's death. So you don't go find that person. Second of all, if you don't have an actual doppelganger in real life, and you see yourself though, that's probably a skinwalker. And you don't fuck with that either. But she sees that, and Mia's just like, nope, no, I'm out. She goes inside, she's shaking, she's covered in rain and shit. She's grabbing her keys, her purse, and all that, and everyone's just like, hey, Mia, what's going on? Where are you going? What's happening? She's like, listen, guys. I'm willing to do this. just not here. I have to leave. I cannot do this here. And they're like, no, Mia, you have to stay. David, why don't you drive me home? Please, David, please just take me home. And this is that moment where it's just like, oh, David, you gonna break, man? You gonna break? You gonna give in? You gonna be that brother? And he looks at her and just goes, you know what? Maybe they're right. Maybe you need to stay here. And she's shocked. She is completely shocked. She's just like, I can't believe this. You're supposed to have my side, not their side. So she takes the necklace and she just breaks that son of a bitch. She's like, I'm an idiot for thinking you were on my side, and throws it on the ground. And in the midst of this chaos, she swipes the keys like it's fucking Dora the Explorer over here. Just swipe her, no swipey. And she swipes the keys. She storms off into the bedroom, slams the door. Eric's just like, I'll go check on her. Olivia's like, don't worry about it. But he's like, I'm gonna go check on her anyway. Opens the door. She done fled out the window. She's already in the car. She's cranked up. She's going. Of course, as soon as she leaves, everybody comes down the porch. She's like, oh my God, Mia, come back. And Eric's just like, great. Because that was his car that she stole. Now, I'm going to say something real quick. I'm going to say something. When it comes to Eric's character, everything that happens to him in this movie is well deserved. 100%. I do not feel sorry for him because this is all his fault. I'm not gonna lie. If anybody is to blame, it is Eric for reading from the fucking book. So everything that happens to him, his car being stolen, totaled, the fucking attacks that happened to him, no pity on my end from him. I'm just like, you know what, bro? I see your reasoning for being in this movie. You are the human punching bag because you're the idiot that read through the fucking book. Granted, I get why the entity went after Mia instead of Eric, who read from the book. It's the fact that she, of course, is already in a low place. She's already coming down. She's very susceptible to all this shit. And also, she conveniently happened to be the first one the demon saw. Which, that's gotta fucking suck. Like, the person who read the book is not even the one getting fucked over. It's the person that happens to be seen first by the demon. As she's driving off, though, of course, it's still raining, by the way. That's a long-ass rain season they're having, a long-ass rainy weekend. She is freaking out again. She's like, fuck, yo, what the fuck am I doing? Just, she's just freaking out. She turns the windshield wipers on, and there's the entity standing there, and it's basically like saying, yo, you can't pass this because we're not done with you. So she panics, and she rears off the road and basically drives into a creek. Just straight up just passes out because she hits her head pretty fucking hard on the steering wheel. I'm surprised the airbags didn't go off. So she finally awakens though, and she gets out. And of course, she's like, I don't know, chest deep, maybe neck deep in water when she gets out. And what I found funny was that when she's getting out the car, right? She goes and she picks up a purse and she puts it on. She gets out, she lands in the water, and I think she got the purse caught on something, so instead of taking the purse with her, she just takes it and throws it back into the car. And it starts swimming to shore. And as she's swimming to shore, of course, she can hear Dave and Olivia, Mia, where are you? And then we actually got this really, really good jump scare. I'm not gonna lie, it got me in the theaters. It got me several times. But as they're screaming, of course, she's looking. We got that really nice close-up shot of her face as she's panicking and she's all, wet and drizzy and shit. And she's, doing that shit. The creature, the demon, pops up from underneath the water, covered in mud, and screams at her. Of course, Mia retaliates back with another scream and runs off. And then we get this really wicked chase scene. Again, the POV shot, the camera chasing after Mia as the entity, and she's running as fast as she can. She trips and falls into a thorny, bushy, viney thing. I'm not quite sure. They say it's a thorn bush, but that's a strange-looking thorn bush I ever seen. It reminds me of more of a dead bush with a tree on it. because there's a lot of vines and shit. But she tumbles on in there, and of course, as she's trying to leave, the forest basically starts attacking her. You know, the tree branches, of course, grab her by her throat, and she's, she's struggling to breathe. So she grabs another piece of branch, trying to pull herself up, and then it wraps around her, and it basically contorts her upwards, right? And as she's sitting there panicking, we then see a good shot of the Kandarian demon just standing there looking just like Mia, well, except with glowing yellow eyes. And it opens its mouth, and this is literally the recreation of the famous tree scene. And again, it's not as painful. I'm not gonna lie. If you watch the original Evil Dead with that scene, it makes me uncomfortable. Like, I'm not even gonna lie, it makes me uncomfortable because of the fact that it looks painful. I've heard some of the behind the scenes where I think they actually had a real stick and shit. Like, they didn't shove it up there, but the innuation. But the point is, they did this scene a little bit better because it necessarily doesn't feel like an attack per se. It feels more like taking of innocence, if that makes any sense, because we got Mia, who, yeah, she made some bad choices in life, she's done some drugs, but I think her drug problem basically stems from the fact that her mother died, and she had to sit there and watch her mother go crazy. Basically watch her mother lose her mind, calling her by her brother's name. So I don't necessarily blame her for doing drugs. Granted, don't do drugs, kids. Don't do drugs. But that's why she went to the drug path. So she's very down and upset, very depressed. But she doesn't seem like an evil person. She's not a bad person. Granted, Cheryl from the original one wasn't either, but that felt more like an attack. That felt like a just brutal attack, where this one feels more like a taking of the innocence. But as the doppelganger sitting there, of course, his mouth opens and a rooty vine comes slithering on down like a snake, wraps around her leg, and it goes all the way up. That's all I'm going to say. It goes all the way up. And as soon as that happened, this is very uncomfortable feel because you hear the sound of this thing is like climbing up her leg, and then it just goes completely silent. And then Mia has like this like realization that something's inside of her, so she screams, and then the doppelganger screams, and it's actually done very well. I like this. Like, I was never a big fan of the granted, I did like the name they ended up calling it in the Cabin in the Woods, the evil molesting tree. That shit was just funny. But, again, like I said, the original one felt more like an actual attack. Like, she's being violated by the trees. And this one, it felt more of a taking of the innocent and possession, because I want to say it's mainly because we saw the thing come out of the demon's mouth, and it wasn't the actual tree itself going up there. Granted, it looked like it because it's all slimy and covered in roots and stuff, and it's very gross. Again, the sound effects in this movie are great. I'm not going to lie. We'll talk more about that during a certain scene. But after that, we cut to David and Olivia. Of course, Mia, where are you? And they find her, of course, huddled up in the fetal position against a tree. So they take her back to the cabins, and now we're up to that night. And again, it's thunderstorming like a son of a bitch. And Olivia's coming out, and she's just like, I don't know, she's talking about a woman in the woods, that the forest attacked her. Like, I'm not quite understanding what she's talking about. It's gotta be withdrawal talk, okay? That's all that is, just withdrawal talks. And of course now they're thinking logical over here. They're just like, I think we're in over our head, guys. Like, this is a bit much. And Olivia's like, no, I got this. I know how to handle this. She ain't cocky. She ain't a bitch about it, which I do like that as a writer and acting choice, that she's not a bitch about it. She's not just saying, well, I'm a registered nurse, so I know exactly what the fuck I'm doing. No, she's speaking as a friend, not as just a nurse, but as a friend, saying, no, I got this. I can protect her. I can help her. And of course, Eric's just like, what about the wounds on her hands, though? Like, explain that. oh, well, I pulled out some thorns in there, so she must have ran into a thorn bush. Hell, she could have done it herself. And of course, David's like, what do you mean done it herself? And of course, Olivia brings back down to reality for a minute. She's going to say and do whatever she can to get out of here. Which, again, it is such a tragedy that sometimes actually not sometimes, all the time when you're having withdrawals, you will go to that extent. You would go to the extent of hurting yourself just to prove a point. And that's a sad factor. So I like the realism here. And again, it helps with the whole isolation, why we can't leave. This is literally the predominant reason of why we're not leaving, because we need her to get off this ship. Now this scene, I actually like this scene. It's a very quiet scene, but it's a great scene. David goes in to check on Mia, and she is petrified. And I don't mean just me, I mean the actress playing her. Oh my god, 10 out of 10, ma'am, 10 out of 10. You literally had the fear just on your face. You look terrified. You look scared. And I felt scared for her, but and the way this camera work and the lighting is really great, because they have it where she's kind of like has her head tilted back, and the camera is slightly skewed down, and they have a bit of a light. I want to say from when Mia earlier in the movie knocks a lamp over or something, and it's just sitting on the floor. But we got that kind of lighting and shadow effect going on, and she's looking at David. She's just whispering now. She's not saying anything too terribly loud. She's just whispering. But David goes up to her and touches her on the shoulder. She's still in that fetal position, by the way. And of course, she, oh my god, And he's just like, are you okay? We have to go. There is something in the woods. And I think it's in here with us. Just straight up, she whispers it. And she says it with such fear in her voice that I'm scared for her. I'm surprised David didn't even consider anything, even contemplate wanting to leave. I get it, man. She would say anything, but that's the fear of God right there. She has the fear of fucking God in her face. Withdrawals or not, that's not an easy look to concoct, even with coming off with withdrawals. Something truly has terrified her, but again, they're just chalking it up as withdrawal syndromes. So Eric, of course, not believing her, just goes, hey, take a shower, come back tomorrow, you thank us idiots for taking care of you, and closes the door. We then look at Mia, who's breathing heavy, and then we pan over to the mirror, and as we pan over, of course, a flash of lightning strikes, and we see the Mia doppelganger demon standing there, kind of doing a kiss thing. I'm not gonna lie, she's doing some tongue action shit, like she's trying to do something over here. I don't know if she's trying to make out or call to me or something. It's not really working. It's not my cup of tea, to be honest. I'm not big into the tongue action. But she's trying it anyway, and of course Mia's just hell. Mia's just I'm not having this. So then we go to Eric, who's reading more in the book, and he's doing research and everything. And Olivia walks in, and she's like, why did you just toss that thing out? Shouldn't you be downstairs helping your friend? I have no clue who you're talking about. You care about him. Stop acting like you don't. Not like he cared. And especially in the last century, it's not like he gives a fuck. Well, he's here now. Yeah, it's truly amazing that he's here. Eric could give less of a fucks that David's here. Honest to God, from that piece of dialogue, it really feels like he's just tolerating David, which you find out later on. It's mainly when he's dying. He does say, I missed you, man. And I want to say it's mainly the animosity, again, comes with the fact that David abandoned them. Especially in the time of need with Mia doing her drug problem. He feels abandoned. He feels left. And it's David, I'm assuming David and him used to be really, really good friends. And because of everything that happened, he put a rift between them. Granted, he still loves him like he's his friend and everything, but it just doesn't feel the same. So he holds a little bit of that grudge, like, well, why should I care? It's not like he cared. You know, he hasn't cared in the last century. But again, it's that nice writing to establish the fact that this is the animosity between them two. Why Eric's being so cold, why he's being so nonchalant towards David's, needs and whims. Where Olivia, like I said, she's more open and warm, just, oh my god, we got this, guys. David is now cleaning up the bullshit with the cats and everything, as Eric is still doing his research on the book. And as he's throwing the cats out, he sees a trail of blood. So he goes and he looks and he follows the trail underneath the shed, and he sees Grandpa. And of course, Grandpa's there and he's whimpering, just, it's very sad. It's very sad. And he runs into the shed and he moves his stuff and he sees the hole. And he's like, "Grandpa, are you okay?" And of course, the dog doesn't move. So he goes in and he reaches in, he pulls out the dog. And of course, unfortunately, good boy died. Good boy is dead. And Eric, David's super upset about this. And he's just like, "Grandpa, what happened? What's going on?" You just see he's covered in blood. As we're looking at him, we see the camera pan over to this hammer that's covered in blood. And we get like this flash of Mia just aggressively killing the dog. Granted, we don't see her actually kill the dog. It's more of a POV shot of us as the dog watching her beat the shit out of us. But David knows, like, okay, Mia's done something. David's pissed. David's pissed as fuck. So he storms into the cabin and he's like, "Where's Mia?" She's taking a shower. He starts banging on the door. Mia, open this door. I gotta talk to you." Mia, unfortunately, is in a trance right now, and she's standing with her clothes on and everything in the shower. And as she's like tweaking out a little bit, because you see like the little flinches of the body, she turns the hot water all the way on, and then, of course, being a Kadarian demon, makes the water even hotter by turning up the boiler on this thing, basically scalding her face. Like, it's a really, really nice effect. I'm not gonna lie, like, this was a very good effect of just her face basically, like, peeling off in some aspect. She's got, like, second, third degree burns. But, they eventually bust down the door, and they see, it's injured, she's hurt, oh my god, what do? We gotta take her to the hospital. So, of course, David grabs her, is driving her to the hospital. Eric, of course, runs to the book, flips open a couple of pages, and then reads something about scalding water being boiled or something like that, basically indicating what just happened to me is happening in this book as well. And as David is driving, though, he's going as fast as he can. Of course, the rain's still going, and we get to the bridge or the walkway or something. I don't know exactly what this piece of road's supposed to be, but whatever it is, it's got the worst placement in the world because it's now flooded. To the point that you could not drive your car across it even if you wanted to, because it's so fast and so high, they would just take you off with the current. So now they're isolated and stuck there, not just because, Mia is having withdrawals, they're now actually stuck there. And of course, we get like this really nice cheeky shot of David looking at Mia in the car. And of course, Mia, like I said, her face is slightly burned, not slightly burned, really fucking burned. And she's been foaming at the mouth as he's been driving her. But we see this look of her just smiling. Like, she is happy that we're all trapped here. And I really think that was a very clever trick there, because you can you miss it if you blink it, but you can see that smile of her going, we stuck here now, motherfucker. We all screwed tonight. So, of course, they have to end up going back to the cabin. They give Mia a tranquilizer to put her ass out because she's doing crazy things. And they start arguing about the whole situation. You know, we should have left when Mia wanted to. We should have done this. Oh, by the way, guys, I know I don't mention it very much, but Natalie does have some input here and there. Okay, she's the one that asked, we should have left when Mia wanted to leave. So she does have a few lines. Don't be mistaken. She does have a few lines. It's just David, Olivia, and Eric that say the most out of this shit. Like I said, I get why Natalie's there because she's, part of the body count. But could they not really think of much for her to do besides a couple of scenes? But like I said, they're arguing though about what they should do, that everything's not okay. And of course they're like, everything's gonna be fine. Everything's not gonna be fine. And as they're arguing, we hear something being dragged across the floor. And we see Mia standing there with the shotgun. That's what she's dragging across the floor, the double-barrel shotgun. And, again, they don't see it, but we as the audience see her dragging this gun. And like I said, they're saying everything's going to be fine. And Eric goes, really? Because everything has not been fine. Everything has been getting worse. As soon as he says that, that's when they hear the noise and they turn around. And Mia is just sitting there twitching, just like tweaking out a little bit. She pulls up the shotgun. They're just like, Mia, what are you doing? Mia, don't do this. And she fucking shoots at him. Of course, blows right past him. Unfortunately, some of the shrapnel got into his arm. So David falls back. And as soon as he falls back, this is really, really nice slow-mo, quiet moment of David falling back, the window shadowing. And then we get the POV shot of the Kadarian demon coming in through the front door, and it's all super, super quiet. It's like a weird muffling echo of ringing. That's the word I'm looking for. A weird ringing muffled that's going on. And then as the Kandarian demon busts through the door, that's when the sound effects and everything comes back, and Mia starts screaming. I'm talking about a blood-curdling scream. And of course we hear the iconic dialogue of, we will, you will die like the others died before. We will take you all one by one. And then the infamous Cheryl line. The door slams. Mia's standing there, and it just goes, you're all gonna die tonight. Hits the floor, just bonked out. And of course, everybody, oh, the fuck? Get the gun, get the gun! Because, that bitch gonna wake up at any moment. And as they're reaching for the gun, Olivia, unfortunately, gets the shit out of this stick. When she grabs the gun, Mia grabs her. Mia then pounces on top of her and then proceeds to vomit blood and bile from her body all in her face, like in and around her mouth. Just every fucking way. Just everywhere. And again, 70,000 gallons of blood was used. I wonder in this one take how many gallons of blood was used for this vomit scene. But as Mia's vomiting on her, of course, Olivia's reaction is, get this bitch off me. So she throws her over into the trapdoor cellar. And Eric, thinking quickly on his feet, goes over there, slams it shut as Mia is standing there, by the way. She's just standing in the dark being fucking creepy. He slams it shut, locks the door. And everyone's just standing there like, the fuck just happened? What the hell? I gave her enough tranquilizers to knock out a giant elephant. How is she still standing? I don't know. But go get another one, though. Just go get one. So Olivia runs off to go get another one. Of course, David's looking at his arm like, I got shrapnel. So Nat's like, I got some tweezers in my bag. And runs off to go get his tweezers. And Eric, being all dramatic and shit, is standing on top of the door. And basically, a little side note real quick. The entire time they're having these conversations of, I got tweezers, go get a tranquilizer. You hear Mia downstairs just having a rampage. It's like she's throwing her body up against the walls and the pillars and stuff. That's why they had to go get the tranquilizer, because they think she's going to hurt herself. Granted, at this point, what she does is what she does. This ain't a normal withdrawal. But Eric is oh my god, he takes his glasses off and everything. Just, bro, I don't think another trank is going to help. I'm afraid what is happening has something to do with that witchcraft shit in the basement. Eric, do you have something to tell with the rest of the class? This would be a good opportunity to share your knowledge. No, you're just gonna say, I think it has something to do with the witchcraft, even though not only did you read from the book, and not only did you quickly run in and realize that when Mia, put the boiling water on her, that was part of the book. No, you still denied this and go, well, I think it has something to do with that witchcraft. I'm not like 99% sure. It does take a genius to figure this out. So, as they're having that conversation, Olivia is going to the bathroom. She's trying to clean herself up because there's blood all over her. And as she's cleaning up, she opens up the mirror. Now, originally, I thought this was going to be one of those typical jump scare moments. We've all seen the mirror jump scare. We all know the mirror jump scare because it's an iconic jump scare in any horror movie when it comes to a bathroom in the mirror. Of course, they open it and they close it and something's behind them. They do it very clever here. I'm not going to lie. Very, very clever. So she's, opens up the cabinet. She's like pulling around, trying to get a needle and everything. The mirror slowly starts closing. And as it's closing, we get to see her doppelganger version of the demon. And it's got a wicked smile on her face. I'm talking about cheekbone cut deep wicked smile. Kind of foreshadowing, oh, some shit's about to happen to you. And even Olivia's like, oh shit, I gotta get out of here, because she sees the door kind of closing, and the book flips open to a page of a person standing there with a shard of something, a sharp object cutting into their face. So she's like, oh hell no, I'm getting the hell up out of here. She don't make it very far. She gets about a few steps in between the bed and the door, and she is frozen in place. Just straight up frozen. And we just see her standing there. She slowly lets go of what she has in her hands. And we just see her kind of tweaking out a little bit, just kind of do a little twitchy thing Mia was doing. And then we see her pee her pants. And again, it goes back to what I was saying about the control aspect when it comes to these demons. How much control are they allowing their host to have? Like, do they want them to feel this pain? Granted, it would make sense as a demon to do this, because, misery is good food. But, again, good questions. Good questions, and you know what? I'm going to say they have a bit of control just because it makes the demons sound much more evil. Granted, they're already evil to begin with. But now they're much more. And yes, I don't give a shit if my English teacher said there's no such thing as much more and isn't. Miss Berkeley, yes, there is. Unfortunately, that woman, she was my English teacher. She was like already in her 80s. I wonder if she's still alive. That's a good question. Anyway, she pees herself though. And then as soon as that happens, the door closes, everybody looks up, and Eric's like, I'm gonna go check on Olivia. So he goes in there. Of course, he opens the door. All the lights are fucking off conveniently. So he turns on the first light. Olivia? And now this is really great, like, slow build up to all this, by the way. Like, I absolutely love this build up. Because we got, like, these really great camera shots of, like, him walking through the door, and we're, like, looking. It's like we're on the floor looking up at him as he's about to reach for the doorknob. Like, Olivia, you in the bathroom? And he opens up the door. Lights are off in there, too, so he flips on the light. And, of course, it's the one light bulb in the house that just conveniently decides to flicker today. So as soon as it's on, it starts flickering. So it's like dark light, dark light, dark light. And as he's walking further in, we hear this effect. I mean, like, this was a bone-chilling effect of somebody sawing into their own flesh, and it's very mushy and very grotesque. I'm not gonna lie, it's very grotesque, but I love it though. I love it. That's just the sound effects for this thing. But we're not able to see it because she's hunched over in the shower with the curtain drawn and facing the corner. But we hear this as Eric walks up to her. He pulls back the curtain. He's like, Olivia, are you alright? And she slowly turns to look at him, and you see half her jaw is just gone because she done saw it off. Like, took out part of her cheekbone and everything. And poor Eric's just like, oh my god. And he goes to walk back. Motherfucker slips on her cheek flesh, right? He slips on her flesh, falls and hits the toilet and hurts his back. And he's trying to crawl out, and of course the door closes on him because demons gotta do demon things. And as he's crawling, she stands up and then proceeds to sit on top of him. And as he's looking up, she stabs him with the shard of glass she was using to cut his face with. And then she grabs the needle she had, and this is the one time I'm sure this motherfucker was glad he was wearing glasses. Hell, I would be happy for wearing glasses on this scene. And this is a very aggressive scene, by the way. But she's standing there in a very robotic movement. Like, there's like you notice how, like, with your elbow, you can, like, stretch it out and stuff, you know, very flexible and movable. Not this bitch. No, she's very robotic. And I'm not saying that as a bad thing, you know, because there's robotic acting, robotic, you know, bullshit like that. But I'm just saying, like, the movement itself seems deliberate from the demon itself, the Deadite. But it starts just stabbing Eric in the fucking face with the needle, just... And we're literally watching this man just like struggle back and forth. We see his glasses shatter because she hit his glasses. Man tries to put his hand up, gets stabbed in the hand. And it is so violent to the point that they couldn't focus on it too long. So we're having intermittent cuts with the lights flashing and shit. But I mean, she's just going ham to the point that eventually he pushes her off of him and he backs all the way up into the corner. And as she's knocked out, he takes his glasses off and grabs a needle that got stuck right underneath his eye. And we slowly watch him pull it out. And he looks down at Olivia, who's now crawling at him with the shard of glass, by the way. Which I forgot to make a mention. When she saw her original reflection in the mirror before she stormed out of the room because she saw the fuck shit that was about to happen, the mirror shattered. That's where she got the piece of glass from. But she's crawling at David with the shard of glass, and David grabs the toilet that broke when he threw Olivia off of him, because he threw her hard. Like, she hit the toilet, broke it and everything. He grabs it and he just proceeds to bash her head into the point that becomes mush. Like, it was like a moment from The Walking Dead with Negan and the baseball bat. Like, just straight up just bashes her head in. And David comes busting on in, and Eric's just in shock, and he's just like, she tried to kill me, man. She tried to kill me. Like, I love that scene. Like, I really do, because it's everything from the build up to that moment of him walking in, the lighting effects. Of course, again, it had to be the one light bulb in the room that had to decide to flicker that day. But the fact that you can hear the sound, and I want to say I heard from somewhere, I could be wrong, but I heard that that's a legitimate sound. Not that somebody actually stabbed himself with the knife or anything like that, but apparently there was research done, because for the practical effects and everything, they did do research on magic tricks and illusions, so he wouldn't have to do a lot of CGI, because again, he don't like CGI. So I want to say they heard the sound or combined it from what they've heard or something, but I'm not quite sure. Like I said, it's something I heard. I'm not 100% about it, but yeah, apparently the sound was something that actually sounds realistic to actually cutting into your flesh. So, that mushy sawing sound, yeah, no, that's a good sound. That was a great sound in this movie, I'm not gonna lie. And then, of course, it's just that tiny bit of slapstick. That tiny bit, the fact that man slipped on a piece of flesh and then fell on the toilet and hurt his back. That was a little funny to me. I'm not gonna lie. Like, that was one of those Scooby-Doo moments where you weren't paying attention. You slipped and you slept. You slept. So they get Eric out into the work shed, and of course David's got his handy-dandy duct tape, which he uses for everything in this movie. He's trying to patch up Eric, because the man's just bleeding. He's bleeding like profusely at this point. And he's just like, Natalie, go inside and get him some water, sugar water, because, he's pale and all that shit. And she's like, okay, I got it. She runs in there. Which, again, I have problems with that scenario, because why would you send your girlfriend into a cabin where fuck shit was happening? Like, at least don't do it alone. Go with her. Just be like, Eric, I'll be right back. Let me go get you your sugar water. Maybe this shit wouldn't have happened. There was 2 of them in there, but no, he sends her alone. But as they're doing that, Eric is looking at him and he's like, David, I fucked up. I read a passage from that book and I released something, David. Something evil. Finally, man, you're able to admit the fact. After being almost brutally killed, you can finally admit you fucked up. You fucked up. Not Mia, not David, not Olivia, not Natalie. No, you fucked up, my homie. You did. So as they're having that conversation, we cut to Natalie going into the cabin. She's on edge as soon as she walks in, and she slowly opens the door, looks down at the trap door, looks into the kitchen, goes running on through the kitchen. She's getting the sugar water and everything, and then we hear some bullshit. We hear the door close, the trap door open. We hear Mia giggling and shit, and some whispering. And as she goes to walk out, she hears Mia just, Natalie, what's going on? Basically, the demon playing nice over here. And she's just like, Mia, you okay? Why am I in this dark basement? My leg hurts. Mia, you're acting a little crazy now. And she starts slowly going down the stairs, and Mia's just sitting on the edge, and we get this really nice shot of looking at Mia, but we don't get to see her full face. It's just like part of her nose on up, because she's leaning down a little bit, trying to cover her laughing, I'm assuming. And we see Natalie coming down the stairs, and as she's trying to talk to her, explain, we left you down here because you're going crazy, all this shenanigans are going on, we don't know what's happening, are you okay? We then, God, this scene, we all know what scene but that's about to come up. We all know the scene. It's the box cutting scene. But as she goes down there and she's just like, are you okay? We hear that intermingle of the third person of like Mia's voice switching to the demon's voice, and she basically says, he will never let you go or never let you leave until he has all of you. And as soon as she says that, she turns around to attack Natalie, and Natalie tries to book it up the stairs. And of course, that foreshadowing of that piece of plank breaks. Natalie, of course, grabbing the edge of the floorboards, she's like, oh my God, trying to pull herself up. And she does it, and then she's stupid enough to sit there for a minute because she realizes that something grabbed her ankle. And then it yeets her back down, the door closes and all that. She wakes up, and I'm assuming it's been, maybe a minute, 30 seconds. I don't know. Long enough that David should have already been back at this point to go check on his girlfriend getting a bunch of sugar water. I'm just saying. Like, after a minute, I've been like, where my girl at? Eric, stay here. I'm going to go find my girl. Yeah, as soon as I walked in, didn't see anything. Yep, I'm going straight to that trap door, opening it up, and calling my girlfriend's name. She doesn't answer. I'm closing it. We're burning this shit down to the ground. Again, though, that's just me. But she wakes wakes up though, and as she awakens, we see Mia, I'm not gonna lie, being a little sexual over here. She's crawling on top of her, licking her inner thigh and her leg, and it keeps going up, and kind of makes me a little uncomfortable. I'm sure it made everybody else uncomfortable. Cause it's just like, bro, this demon's getting a little handsy here. Just stop it, man. Get some help. But as she's licking her, she looks up at her and of course says, "I can smell your filthy soul." And of course, Natalie's just like, "Oh hell no!" Grabs the box cutter, puts up in her face, and Mia just bites her hand. Just fuck that box cutter. And just bites her hand, grabs the box cutter, and then of course this infamous, gorgeous ass scene. Again, practical effects, guys, all the way through. But she takes the box cutter and she lifts it all the way up. I'm talking about a long ass blade. And she proceeds to give herself a devil's pitchfork on the box cutter and basically slice her tongue in half. And it's just like this grotesque moment. We see the nice slice of the tongue with the blood dripping out, and it's almost like she's like licking it like it's a popsicle or something. She licks it though, and the blood's just dripping down the mouth, and she has that moment where she has her tongue out. We get to see it kind of flopping there for a minute, and she looks at her and goes, "Kiss me, you dirty cunt," and then jumps on top of her, proceeds to make out with her, so the blood's just everywhere. That bite wasn't enough. Let me pour some of my blood in you. And of course, David comes in, and he opens up the trap door, and she's like, "Oh my god, David!" And she runs upstairs, and David's looking down at Mia, and Mia's like crouched down, being like Gollum over here, trying to back out, and she's just like, "Why don't you come down here so I can suck your cock, pretty boy?" And then David's just like, Mia, you okay?" "Mia's not here, you idiot. Your little sister is being raped in hell." They straight up just like, "Your sister's not here. Your sister's in hell." David don't handle that news very well, so David just slams the door shut and proceeds to nail up the side of the trapdoor and then lock it with a bunch of chains across it, because he's just like, "Hey, my little sister's burning in hell, man. That's not it, man." But after all that, he's holding his girlfriend, who is now clutching her hand, just freaking out, just, "I want to go home. Let's just go home." I'm like, at this point, you're kind of screwed, man. Like, if it wasn't the bite, it was the blood in the mouth. As everyone's trying to calm down and pace themselves, Eric is trying to burn the book. David comes in and sees it, and he's like, "What are you doing, man?" "Thought if I burn it would end this. But the book won't fucking burn." And we see the book in the fire just chilling like it's a hot Tuesday. No big deal. And then Eric proceeds to talk about the book. He's just like, it's an ancient language. It's this evil entity, a taker of souls, it describes. A rain of blood will happen once 5 souls have been eaten, and the abomination will rise. Basically setting up why all 5 of these people are here. Fantastic. And as they're, talking about this, we keep cutting back to Natalie, who is in the kitchen trying to clean her hand from the bite. And of course, as she's like pushing on it, we see little black goo droplets coming out of her wound and shit. It's very gross, but I like it though. And once again, we cut back to them talking about the book, and Eric's just like, "If we want to help Mia, we're going to have to kill her. According to this book, we're going to have to kill her." Of course, David's just like, no, we can't kill her. Clearly this is a virus or something. There had to be something down there in that basement with all those cats just driving her crazy. And as that's happening, we cut back to Natalie, who then is watching her hand tweak out like it's Ash from Evil Dead 2 over here. And we see the infection spreading up her arm as it's tweaking out. And of course, the kitchen door closes. Now, of course, that seems to be a staple in this movie. The door closes anytime bullshit happens. Now, the demon's just like, I want a little privacy. Don't mind me. And then, we got back to Eric and them. We gotta do something, otherwise we will all be dead. We don't have time to figure this out. We're all gonna die. And at least Eric's being optimistic here. But still though, I feel like this is all your fault, homie. So then, we have another great scene that I absolutely love because of the practical effects. And just the moment after is just really, really good. And again, I wish they would have kept the "We're Gonna Get You" song. I really do. I don't know why they cut that. I really don't. I know it's in a deleted scene, but I still feel like it would have made the scene so much better. Like, it's already a good scene, but it would have been so much better with that little, little nod to the, "We're gonna get you, not another peeper." Like, that shit's fucking creepy, man. But as, we cut to Natalie. She's on the floor spazzing out. She's trying to fight this entity off. And the door opens up and we see Mia just peeking over the edge of the trap door because, again, it's chained shut. And she's just, like, sitting there smiling, twisting her fingers. And eventually Natalie fights back the possession for a second. And, of course, she sees the little meat cutter they had earlier, and she looks at her arm, looks at the meat cutter, and she proceeds to grab it. And you hear Mia just go, "Don't do it, bitch! Don't cut it off." And she thinks about it again, and she's about to turn it on, and of course, "Don't cut it off." Fuck you. She turns it on, and she just starts drilling into her arm, and of course, blood's just gushing everywhere. Natalie screaming, blood's pounding on her. You can hear Mia freaking out in the background, just, "No, don't cut it off, don't cut it off," doing her little deadite thing. And of course, as she's, and is drilling through her arm, eventually the power freaks the fuck out. There's a shortage, and all the lights go out in the place. And of course, Dave and Eric hear this, so they go inside, they open up the kitchen door, and they're like, "Nat, you okay?" And all they see is blood on the floor. And they walk further in where you see Nat leaning up against the refrigerator, and she turns around and looks at the guys and just goes, I had to do it. I had to do it. But I feel better now. And then what's interesting about this scene is that we're looking at her from, like, the shoulder on up. And she's got, like, the arm she's cutting off into the back. And then after she says that scene, or that line, I do apologize, that line, we cut back, and she is standing there with her arm just dangling there by a tendon, a tiny tendon, just standing there, just holding on to that arm. And as soon as we get to, like, that gasping moment of, "Oh my fucking God," her arm, we just see it fall to the ground, just, and hit the ground. And it's like, Jesus fucking Christ, man. Ooh, those effects, though. Those are some good-ass effects. I'm not gonna lie. I love the practical effects for that. Like, that was great. Like, just the sound effects when they hit the ground, the dripping, oozing this from her stub. It's really great. But after, her arm falls off, we hear Mia laughing in the background, which is kind of indicating, because you would think, she cut her arm off, she stopped the affection, right? But Mia knows better, and I think that's why the Deadite Mia was fucking with her, saying, "Don't cut it off, don't cut it off," because she knew she was already possessed anyway, because she made out with her blood. So I think she just wanted to torture her some more, make her dismember her own arm, just for shits and giggles. That just shows you how demonic these Deadites are. And of course, David's just like, "Oh, it's okay, baby, it's gonna be okay, we're gonna take care of you." And he's got his handy dandy duct tape again, taping up her stub, because, duct tape fixes everything. And Eric's a fucking downer as per usual. He caused all this shit, and of course he's just like, "Yeah, everything's not gonna be okay." Nah, shit, bro, it's not. Thank you very much for that. You're a sweet pal. Eric then explains to David the 3 ways we have to kill Mia. And he's like, according to this book, we can either do a light burial, got to dismember the body, or we got a personification of her soul with fire. Are you sure this will work? No, man, but what else can we do? She dies, maybe this all stops. But sadly, no. No, it's when Eric died. That's when this shit all stopped and then started again. It's all Eric's fault. But, of course, David's in denial. David's just like, no. Because he doesn't want to kill his sister. I mean, granted, what sibling in the right mind would want to kill their other sibling like that? I never know. But David ain't having it, and he's in denial going, maybe she's just crazy. Maybe just like mom, because mom was in the mental institution. That's how mom died. Maybe it's just her. And fucking Eric just busts out laughing, and he's just like, okay, live in denial, man, live in denial. Well, okay, why don't you go, and you leave, and you run away, and you go hide like you normally do, because that's what you're good at. Okay, I'm going to take care of this. As soon as he says that, we get this nice camera pan shot of over his shoulder, and we see a silhouette behind him, and then we just hear, and we're like, what the fuck? And it's Natalie standing there with a nail gun, shooting her face. And then she steps, and what's really cool about the scene, the fact that she's all in shadows, and as soon as we're like, what the fuck, and we know it's Natalie, she steps out, and we just see like a bunch of nails in her face, just straight up, just all over the place. And they're just like, oh hell. And she starts shooting them with the nail gun, and of course she gets David in the leg, and Eric gets the worst pummeling of it all. I'm not gonna lie, he gets shot at in the arm 3 times, and then fucking Allie just takes a personal vendetta against him, and just starts shooting him, and it's like to the point that one goes through his hand and gets stuck to his chest, and another one's in his chest, and the man gets riddled with nails. So, fucking David gets up, but kind of body slams Natalie into the ground. And then we have this moment of everyone just like kind of checking their wounds, make sure they're okay. Just like, that's a nail. Let me get that out. Oh my God, that hurt. Hey man, where'd she go? Because when you know, she fucking disappeared. She pulled a Batman on everybody. And as they go to get the nail gun, she comes back, and she's got a crowbar now. She proceeds to start beating poor David with the crowbar, and this is like a brutal beat. Like, I will admit, I've seen, a lot of movies beating with crowbars, and, it's rather, it doesn't look so, like, it looks bad. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm pretty sure a piece of iron being struck against your skull fucking hurts, and would actually kill you. I'm like 99.9% sure it would kill you. Because that's head trauma. But, it doesn't seem so brutal. In this movie, it's like you can feel and hear the bones breaking as she is just going ham on poor David, just beating the shit out of him. And then fucking Eric, trying to be Superman over here, grabs a nail gun, proceeds to shoot her to get her attention. And she turned around and starts walking towards Eric. And Eric's like, no, stop, please stop. First of all, motherfucker, again, this is your fault. Second of all, you did get her attention for this very reason. So, Natalie Deadeye over here walks over to him and then proceeds to beat Eric with the fucking crowbar in a much more violent fashion. I'm talking about, we got head shots, we got rib shots, we got neck shots. Like, David, he got hit in the leg, maybe the shoulder or something. No. Eric just got, like, the full fucking beating of his life. And then David comes in for the win with a double-barrel shotgun and blows off Natalie's arm. Right before the final blow to Eric's skull, just blows it off. She turns around and she's bleeding just like profusely out of her new stump on her other side now. And as she's stumbling forward, she's like, David, why are you hurting me? And she falls to the floor and she starts crawling to David. Just, David, why does my face hurt? Oh my God, why does my face hurt? She cuddles up to David and she bleeds out and dies in his arms. Again, Deadites are fucking cruel. That Deadite left for her to suffer. Like, you gotta think, you gotta be super fucking confused being possessed by a demon and then wake up to half your fucking body, if not all your body, hurting. You're missing another limb and your face hurts. And your boyfriend just shot you. I would be confused as fuck too. And angry and lost and scared. Like, the demon's just feasting on these emotions over here. Like, the demons are just cruel motherfuckers. After that, though, we have like this nice aerial shot of Eric leaning up against the wall in front of the trapdoor. On the other side of the trapdoor, we got David sitting there holding Natalie's body, and we got a little blood trail. Now, one of the deleted scenes I forgot to mention when it comes to Natalie's body was that when he was originally burning down the house, we do get to see him cover up Natalie's body and then set it on fire. I get why they cut that scene out as well, because of the fact that, you know, they're setting the whole cabin on fire, so it should be rather obvious that everybody in this cabin is going to be set aflame. So I get why they kind of cut that one out. But David takes Eric to the car, and he's just like, don't die on me, man, don't die on me. And then Eric, without missing it, he has one of his funny line of the movie. It wouldn't be so bad to die. I just don't want to be the devil's bitch. so David's just like, alright, I'm going to do what I'm going to have to do. And he goes off into the house, and you see when the gasoline, he's pouring it everywhere, and he gets to the trap door and he proceeds to pour it even more and doing all the shenanigans. And finally, someone took my advice, though, about matches and horror movies, and they listened to me, and he's got a fucking Zippo, right? He fucking opens it up, and he's about to drop it. And right before he drops it, he hears the little lullaby that Mia made a mention earlier that their mother used to sing, and she's singing it perfectly to the T. And David's sitting there, and he's shaking, and he's like, I can't do this, man. I can't. And he closes it up. And as soon as he does that, a thing of lightning strikes this tree. And it engulfs in flames. And as soon as that happens, he gets an idea. He's like, alright, I got an idea. And he runs off to the shed. And we get this little montage of him trying to make a homemade defibrillator, because he's going to bury Mia alive. And what's funny is, as he's digging her grave, he's just like, if we're going to do it, we're going to have to do it the fucking hard way. Like, I love that line, because he speaks the truth, because if you want to bury her alive, you got to go down there and go get her. But the things you do for the ones you love, right? So David goes down there, and it's kind of quiet. All you hear is a little bit of whispering. Of course, a couple of things falling off on the walls and everything. He goes into the back where they found the book, and it's flooded. It's fucking flooded. I'm not gonna lie. The rain has seeped in somehow. The well overflew. Something happened. It's flooded. And he's about, I don't know, waist deep in this water. And of course, he can't find her, and he goes to this like little well area. And he turns around, and there's fucking Mia standing in the doorway, and she like floats towards him really, really fast, screaming with the box cutter, and proceeds to slice at him a few fucking times. And this scene, I will admit, threw me off a little bit, because it again was one of those campier moments where basically seeing David get thrown around the room just in weird cuts. It's like we got Mia screaming with the box cutter. Then we see David just hit the wall, and then Mia screaming with the box cutter, and then David hitting another wall, and it goes back and forth to the point that he ends up going into the well, and Mia's trying to drown his ass, and then David comes up behind her and smacks her upside the head, but when that happens, he got stabbed with the box cutter. So he saves David's life, and unfortunately, Eric just took too much of a beating, you know. He got stabbed with a mirror piece in the chest. He got stabbed in the face multiple times with a needle. He got shot at with a nail gun. He got beat with a crowbar. And now he got stabbed in the abdomen with a box cutter. The man is tapping out. He's just like, you know what? Being the devil's bitch ain't so bad. But, you know, he pulls Eric aside. And Eric, you know, of course he's dying. He's just like, I miss you, man. I hope you know that. And then just fucking dies. Like, it's kind of sad that, you know, and he's so excited to see David too, because he saw David. He's like, David, I missed you, man. Like, it was like a bit of a delusional moment, but a kind of sad but somber moment at the same time. And I really like that, you know, kind of a full circle that, no, he didn't hate David. He just hated that David abandoned him. He didn't hate David for being there, and that he really missed him and he really cared. I'm going to start thinking, though, that David really didn't care that much for Eric. And let me explain this. So, they're standing in the doorway, right? Or sitting in the doorway, and Eric dies. Now, you would think you would put him in dry area, you know, lean him over to the right a little bit, you know, put him in the doorway, grab Mia, and then go upstairs. No, David takes him and then puts him in the water. Just to make sure he's dead. I'm just like, damn, that's cold, David, that's cold. But he takes Mia upstairs, and just getting her ready for the burial, you know, puts that red dress on her, puts a plastic bag, starts putting the fucking dirt on her. And of course, there's a really nice shot where he's got the shovel of dirt and he puts on her, and she's not looking at him. And then he grabs another piece and he comes back, and now she's looking at him. And she's like, David, what are you doing? I can't breathe. I can't move. What's going on? David. And of course, David's like, no, it's not you, man. It's not you. You're not my sister. And so the demon goes more demonic. And it's just like, it starts being mean, really mean. Just basically talking shit, just having an exorcist moment, you know, your mother sucks cocks in hell. It's basically the same scenario, except it's, I know mother hates you now, she waits for you in hell. But yeah, some of the meanest ass shit comes out of her mouth, trying to fuck with David, you know, so David would either dismember her or something, but David ain't falling for David. David starts, you know, shoveling the dirt a little faster, and of course, we hear Mia just panicking like, no, David, you know, as the dirt's slowly coming up, and David's sitting there, and he's just like, come on, Mia, come on, this has gotta work, and we hear her heartbeat just stop, and then the tree stops, you know, the flame on the tree just goes away, goes out, and so after that, David's just like, okay, and he starts digging her up, and he pulls her out, and he starts doing the flippery thing with the battery, and he's like flipping in. He's like, come on, Mia, come on, don't die on me. You know, it's very dramatic, very like, oh my God, dramatic. And it keeps going and going to the point that you think she ain't gonna make it, man. She didn't make it. So he sits there and he uncovers the bag off her head, and he moves the hair out of her face, and he covers her up with another blanket. And he walks off, and as soon as he walks off, he hears, David? He turns around, there's Mia standing there. She's fine, she's good, she's Gucci. So he runs over there and he hugs her, and she hugs him too, and then she says one of the most beautiful lines ever. After she says, David, that was horrible, oh my God, that was horrible. She says, David, I'm glad you didn't leave me. I was like, oh, call back to that line in the beginning of the movie where she's like, promise me you won't leave me. So, you know, this is like one of those false happy endings where you think, okay, we're all good, we're all great. We still got 15 minutes left of this movie, by the way. And David's like, why don't you wait here? I'll go get the car keys and we'll go. And he goes into the house and he grabs the car keys. And of course he gets distracted by, the old group photo they had of Olivia and Eric and Mia and David all together just hanging out like they're BFFs and shit. Homie don't see fucking dead-eyed Eric standing behind him. And Eric takes, I'm not quite sure what he has, but he takes something sharp and stabs David in the neck, basically guaranteeing his death. There's nothing you could do when you get stabbed in the neck like that. Because it wasn't like the front, it wasn't like a Negan cut from The Walking Dead where, Negan got sliced in the front and then we were able to stop the bleeding. No, he got stabbed in the side near the artery, so he was going to die no matter what. But he comes out, clenching his neck, and he's telling Mia, go, we gotta go. And she's like, no, Dave, I'm not gonna leave you, And he's like, all right, come on then. And he grabs her and gives her the keys and pushes her outside and tells her to go and slams the door. And of course, Mia, screaming, no, you can't do this, no. And he sits there and he slumps down in front of the door, holding his fucking neck. And you see dead-eyed Eric just walking up front. And he grabs the shotgun. I can't remember if he actually had the shotgun before he walked out of the room or if it was just laying there next to him. I can't remember. But he's got the shotgun. And he points it up at the fucking a gas can they have just laying around after he changed his mind about burning everything. And all we hear is, he's coming, from the dead-eye Eric right before he blows up the gasoline, sending the entire cabin ablaze. And of course, as the cabin's burning and Mia's standing there, and she's just heartbroken at this point. She's just heartbroken, and she looks down. There's the necklace she broke earlier. Somehow it magically fixed itself and wound up in the front yard. She grabs it though. She's holding on to it. And then we get this overview shot, and we see just one little blood drop just fall from the sky and land into her hand. She looks up, and it just starts pouring rain. The blood is coming down. It's like Carrie 2.0 meets The Shining 3.0. It's just going. And as she's sitting there holding on the necklace, like looking at all this blood, a hand comes out of the ground and grabs her, burning her, by the way. Like, apparently the abomination burns, and she yeets back. And of course, we see it slowly just crawling out of all this bullshit, coming at her, and she panics and goes, fuck this shit, I'm out, and runs off to the Jeep, tries to start the car, because she's covered in blood, she's so slippery, so she drops the fucking keys, because of course she had to drop the keys. And as soon as she, goes to pick up the keys in the car, the demon's just standing there. The abomination's like, hey, where you going? It just smashes through the windshield, scaring the shit out of her. She ends up maneuvering herself out of the vehicle, gets up to the ground and sees the tunnel where they found Grandpa earlier in the movie, and so she crawls all the way over there, and for some reason she sits there for a second like she's actually in a good hiding spot or some bullshit, turns around, sees the entity crawling up to her, and she's like, oh hell no, crawls up to the shed. And this woman's a genius, by the way. This woman's a genius. She's not sitting there going, oh my God, what do I do? What's going to happen? No. She realized she's in a tool shed. She's like, what do I got? She opens up the curtain. She sees a machete, and she's about to reach for it. And then she's like, no. I like the chainsaw. She grabs the chainsaw, though. And she's trying to start it up. She's doing her best, by the way. She's doing her best. And she's going, and she realizes it's fucking empty. So she quickly grabs the gasoline, she pours it in, she's going crazy, she's about to put the top back on, and it slips out of her hand and rolls over to the hole. Guess who's coming out of the hole at this point, because they took a fucking minute. It's the abomination, crawling at her. So Mia, in the midst of panic, backs all the way up behind the shelf, and then the abomination grabs the machete that she didn't want it and starts piercing the wall, trying to stab her. And it's pretty badass because, again, the brutality of this whole situation, because at certain points it stabs through the wall. The abomination stabs through the wall and gets her in the knee, stabs her in the shoulder. And this ain't like actual stabs. Like, these are just just enough where it fucking looks like it's painful as hell, like a paper cut 10.0 almost. Like, it looks painful, but it's going, and it's hurting Mia because she's getting stabbed at some points. So she ends up crawling out of the wall and going underneath the Jeep. And as she's underneath the Jeep, we get this nice shot of her hiding underneath the Jeep. And we see the Abomination just slam open the door of the shed, standing there with a machete. And as it's walking around, she finally gets the chainsaw going and just grinds the hell out of her legs. The Abomination comes tumbling to the ground. And of course, this thing's not going to go down that easy. So as Mia's crawling out, the Abomination flips the Jeep over, and she barely dodges, her whole body being crushed. But unfortunately, her hand gets stuck underneath the Jeep. In such a terrible position, too. And as she is, screaming and, fighting to get her hand free, she sees the Abomination coming around the corner. So she's trying to reach for the chainsaw, and, unfortunately, this is a horror movie moment. So one of the, of course, cliche horror movie moments is, that object you want is just slightly out of your reach. Now, what's also pretty cool about this scene is not only is the blood rain still going, but we still got the lighting effects going on with the cabin on fire, which, by the way, I forgot to mention this. When the cabin's originally on fire and the rain starts before the Abomination shows up, there's this really nice lighting shot of just like this deep-seated red just shining through the background of the flames and shit. It's so badass. Like, I should have screenshotted it because it's so cool. But as it's coming around and Mia's trying to get the chainsaw, she ends up just I love this. I love this because this is such a good practical effect. I'm talking about it's beautiful. It really is. And it seems so painful, but she starts to pull at her wrist to the point that she's basically ripping her hand from her arm. And it is so grotesque and it's so badass. Like, it's just, like, the stub looks badass. I was looking at that stub and I was just like, that's a great effect. Like, it reminds me of the stub from Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the one that Bubba used to stab that cop. He broke his own wrist and then stabbed him in the neck with it. That shit's badass. But as she's struggling, of course, the demon's talking mad shit. She's like, "You're gonna die here, you pathetic chunky." And of course, she's like, "Enough of this shit." And she yeets as far back as she can and pulls as hard as she can. She's screaming bloody murder because, again, she's ripping her hand. She's ripping, not cutting, not chainsawing, ripping her hand from underneath this vehicle and basically detaching her bone. Her hand and everything, just detaching it. And she grabs the chainsaw, and as the creature's crawling up to her, of course, we have the epic line. Everybody knows this fucking line. This is one of my favorite lines in this whole movie. "I will feast on your soul. Feast on this motherfucker." And she shoves the chainsaw into its mouth and just starts grinding it as you hear both of them screaming. And she grinds it so hard, she basically splits it in half. Like, that's just some aggression right there. Good effect, though. And it lands on the ground. You see the eye kind of twitching a little bit and blinking. And it starts sinking into the ground. And she's just like, "Go back to hell, bitch." It's like a beautiful Ash William moment. I'm not gonna lie, just a feast on this motherfucker. That is a nice callback to Ash William line right there. Just "I swallow your soul, I swallow your soul. Swallow this." Like, I love it. But after we see the body disintegrate into the ground, the blood stops. Of course, the fire, the cabin's still going. And she walks over there and she stumbles to the necklace. She grabs it and puts it on. And she looks out into the woods and we see this like really nice, beautiful red sunrise just shining through the trees. And she starts hobbling her ass towards the road. and then the camera pans down back over to the book that has been left out, by the way, because David had it when he was burying Mia. It was just laying out there, and it apparently got left out there in the blood rain. But we pan back to the book, and it flips all the way through to the very start of the book, and then slams shut, kind of letting us know we might have a sequel bait at some point, which we do, and we all know, Evil Dead Rises. And then, after that, the movie's over. Really good. And then we have the credits rolling. We get the little nod towards the original tapes from the first movie that we hear. I like that little nod. I thought that was very cheeky, and it was great. And then, of course, the ever so famous one-line cameo of Bruce Campbell just saying groovy and then staring at the camera. And that's basically the end of the Evil Dead, guys. Like I said, guys, it was a real treat going back and rewatching it because it's been a couple of years since I've seen it. And just the fact that I still laugh at myself because I was very biased. I'm not gonna lie, I was very biased going into this movie, and when I walked out, I did not enjoy it because I was expecting a horror comedy and I got a full horror. Which is funny because usually it's the other way around for me. I'm expecting horror and I get a horror comedy. But because, I'm very familiar with the Evil Dead franchise, I'm used to their campy goofiness. I was very taken aback by all this blood, guts, and gore and all this horror shit. And I was just like, this is not my Evil Dead. And it basically felt like a normal, just horror movie. It felt like a normal horror movie. And I didn't realize at the time when I went to go see it, because it was 2013. God damn, I was 18? Yeah, this is well over 10 years ago, I can tell you that. I was a teenager when I saw this. But because, going into it, I had my expectations, and when they weren't met, I walked out disappointed, saying they tried too hard to be a horror movie. It's just another generic horror movie, just another Saw movie, another Hostel movie. Because at that point, I've been, especially with the Saw franchise, it was just saturating the market for a while, and I was used to a lot of the body horror and stuff. So at the time, I personally was only impressed with the practical effects and everything, and I didn't realize it was a love letter and a reimagining and a retelling and the sequel to the original ones. Until I started doing more research and I heard people talking about it, and I'm glad I gave it a second shot. I'm glad I came back for like a third or fourth shot. I'm pretty sure this is my fourth time watching it. I'm pretty sure. But it's a really great movie. Is it one of my favorite out of the Evil Dead? Yes, it is. It actually is. I still personally like the original 3. Like, I'm going to be honest, when it comes to the Evil Dead, I cannot rank them because each movie is different for me. We got the original Evil Dead, which was, of course, the creme de la creme that started it all. Bruce Campbell at his youngest and his finest, doing his crazy stupidness. And, just the horror elements and the build-up and everything. And you got the second one that kind of did a retelling of the first movie for the first 30 minutes, which I thought was pretty interesting because they didn't, bring anybody else back except Ash and a girlfriend played by another character. But it also played out very well and very smoothly. And, of course, the slapstick and it continued on with the story and everything. And I like the horror elements. I like the crazy, one of my favorite scenes from the second movie, of course, is that scene where Ash is losing his fucking mind, and he's inside the cabin dancing with all the objects, like the deer head and everything. I love that scene. That scene's great, and it's goofy. And then, of course, we got the Army of Darkness, which is just pure fucking comedy gold. Just my favorite scene of that entire movie is literally Ash standing there in front of all 3 books, and he's got to say the incantation before he grabs the book, and he's like, Kata, Rada. Yeah, I said the words, and he grabs the book and runs off. No, the fuck you didn't, but I like you, man. But then you have the Evil Dead here, which is strictly horror, grotesque, gore, violence. It's just horror element at its finest. And then you got Evil Dead Rises, which combines not only the horror, grotesque violence, granted, not as violent, and we'll talk more about it next week when I talk about Evil Dead Rises, but I want to say the reason why it's not so violent as compared to this one is This one, they're a bunch of grown-ass adults. In the Evil Dead Rises, there's kids. So there is a limit to what you can show towards kids. Especially in horror movies. You know, I will even admit, in foreign horror movies, yeah, when they kill a kid, they do it for shock value, but they don't do anything too over the top when it comes to kid stats. Like, they will do some crazy shit, don't get me wrong. Again, let's go back to Terrified, where we saw that kid get hit by the fucking bus. Just out of nowhere. They'll do shit like that. But they won't show, like, case in point, we're not gonna see Mom in Evil Dead Rises licking her child's leg to go up and do that, and then cut her tongue and then make out with her. We're not gonna see shit like that. And how we're not gonna see someone get stabbed brutally 15 billion times with a needle in the face, you know. Granted, we get some like very gory, violent moments with the kids, especially during certain scenes, and again, we'll get there next week. But I think they toned it back just a little bit because of the fact that they are kids in a horror movie, and they added a little bit more of that campiness I like from the other Evil Deads. So, you know, I definitely want to go back and rewatch it and enjoy it again, so I get like a better understanding of how I feel about the movie. Because I mean, I did like it, but I like this one a little bit more because of the fact that it is a pure fucking horror movie, and the fact that it's just the practical effects. Again, guys, I'm a sucker for practical effects, little CGI. The man is speaking my language. I'm not gonna lie, the man is speaking my language. But I think I done rambled on long enough about Evil Dead. We're going to go ahead and end this podcast here. I hope everybody who has watched, is watching, will watch. I hope you enjoy. I hope everybody has a fantastic and a wonderful night. And as you watch this video here on YouTube or anywhere like Spotify or Anchor, don't forget to give this video a like, subscribe, and quite possibly a comment down below, because you never know what's going to happen here. Trust me, I never know. Except this time. I actually have my schedule pretty well packed when it comes to the podcast this month. Next week, we will be talking about Evil Dead Rises, and then we'll finish up our Horror Summer Fest with, I think it was Friday the 13th, Part 6. But that is a story for another day, so until then, my friends, y'all take care.